Jon Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love him. I can't get enough of him.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
Headshot.
Oh, so good to be back in your respective lives, especially if you're live with us on a Monday. It's June 16th, 11:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is episode 555, 555th edition of the Anik and Florian podcast, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Ken Flo, you look phenomenal. Not wearing a hat for the first time in about 150 episodes. A lot of questions on the back end of your trip to Turkey, but it's great to see you're smiling. I know you have a high tolerance and threshold for pain, but my lead investigative journalism question is, how painful was your hair procedure?
It was not fun. So first of all, I can't wear a hat. That's why I'm not wearing a hat. I can't wear a hat.
Well, I saw when you were doing some of that practical shooting, you maybe had something wrapped up. I mean, we're already firing guns with the new hair.
I should say this. So the only thing I can wear is like a bucket hat. So it can't be something that's pressing down on my head right now.
Yeah.
But in regards to pain, dude, it was not fun. So I have an issue, I'm probably ADD. Like, I can't sit in one place for too long. And I was in a chair for about 10 hours. They were extracting hair from my head. So imagine, and I'm already sedated and they're putting some kind of anesthetic on my head. But imagine getting your scalp tattooed for 10 hours straight. That's what it felt like. And it was maybe a little bit more intense than that at times, but it was not fun. And in very uncomfortable positions. Like, these people are ramming my head, like, in places. Like, I felt like I was in a headlock for like 10 hours, basically, for the most part. So it wasn't that fun, but it's over with. I'm glad I did it. And I'm also even more glad I'm back home. So here we are.
So part of this is like a public service announcement or information for the masses, because I know a lot of people deal with this, and the Anik and Florian podcast has not taken any dime from anyone for this or otherwise, but
yes.
You did not have to have your head shaved.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I thought I was going to have to, but they're like, no, you're good. You just need to get into the front. So we're just going to do it in the front, and you're good. I was like, nice. I get to keep my hair. But
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, it looks a little funny, but hey, here we are, man. It is what it is.
So I was growing my hair out for like 7 days or so, maybe 6. I looked like a fucking chia pet, right? The white whiffle, the white stripes, all of it.
I like
and
it.
I was
okay,
I'm back in the Northeast, so I was going to go to Bristol, Connecticut to my old barber, Neil, and I was going to get a fade and sort of jokingly with you today be like, dude, I'm growing my hair back out, bro. We're doing this together. And I couldn't do it. We shaved it all off, but it's great to see you, man. You look fantastic.
Likewise.
And we have a lot to get into today. Ray Longo coming up in 25 minutes, 15 minutes on the front end of that. Big weekend for dirty boxing. We'll talk to the CEO, Malki Kawa, and my twin brother, one of their commentators, Jon Anik. We will also talk to Malcolm Wellmaker, out trying to murder a man in the octagon Saturday night. So we'll talk to Augusta, Georgia's finest, Malcolm Wellmaker, coming up in about 55 minutes. Potential special guest planned as well, and Brian Petrie on the back end as we spin it forward to Azerbaijan, UFC Fight Night, Hill v. Rountree Jr. But a big weekend for Kamaru Usman and the Ultimate Fighting Championship. To that end, headlines brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. It was UFC Fight Night, Usman v. Buckley. What a performance by Kamaru Usman. And I don't want to immediately just go to his post-fight interview with Charlie Arnold on the post-fight show that I watched. And by the way, shout out to Charlie, really natural interviewer. But Kamaru basically said, Kenny, if you don't want me to do this to everybody, then I need to fight someone like Islam Makhachev or Jack Della Maddalena, as he tried to spin it forward. Outstanding performance in a career full of them for the future Hall of Famer, the Nigerian Nightmare, who is still alive and well, Kamaru Usman.
It's so easy to forget in this game in mixed martial arts, where fans can be very fickle and analysts like myself can also have a short-term memory at times when you think, maybe we just saw that person in his prime already and he's done. And you think, he's still going to be very, very good, but can he beat that up-and-comer, that hungry guy who's extremely dangerous like a Joaquin Buckley? And the answer was a resounding yes. Kamaru Usman looked to be in fantastic shape, John. That was probably the best that I've seen him from a health perspective in a very long time. And it makes sense why he was saying the things that he was saying prior to that fight. He looked phenomenal. His control, his grounded pound looked to be at an other level still. And it's great to see a guy like Kamaru Usman back on top.
So Sean O'Malley says timing plus speed equals power, but some gentlemen and women just have natural God-given genetic power, and Joaquin Buckley is a freak athletically, not unlike Kamaru Usman, but a lot of people believe that the biggest singular shot, death touch, one-punch knockout threat in the division or in the top of the division is Joaquin Buckley. So this was a massive opportunity for him, one that he pined for years. He finally, with a winning streak, worked his way into this fight. What went wrong for New Mansa?
So I thought it was brilliant that Kamaru Usman, of course, brought him into his wheelhouse and decided to go, you know what? I'm not going to mess around with the power. I'm going to keep you on the outside. And when I get on the inside, you're going to be on your back fighting from there. Let's see if you can knock me out from guard. And, it was brilliant for a lot of reasons. First of all, that's where Kamaru lives and breathes. And he showed a couple more wrinkles to his game, which I think he didn't have in prior fights. Joaquin Buckley is in tremendous shape. He's very strong. But Kamaru Usman's ability to put force vector after force vector on him, to pin him to the mat, and to continue to advance his position in association with his ground and pound was absolutely a brilliant thing. And it took away Buckley's power, I think, later on in the fight. I think if Buckley was way more fresh, if he didn't have to carry the weight of Usman for those early rounds, some of those shots that he did land that may have surprised Usman later on in the fight may have knocked him out. But it seemed to me like he built up so much lactic acid from trying to wrestle Usman off of him that he didn't have that same level of power and speed later on in the fight when he did have those opportunities, John.
So if you wonder aloud how many times in a 10-fight series Joaquin Buckley might beat Kamaru Usman, I don't know what the answer to that is, right? He's got a lot of different tools, but sometimes you just run into a nightmare, a Nigerian nightmare on one of his better nights, I think, in terms of just putting it all together, right? Feinting all night long, feinting takedowns and landing big right hands. And to your point, progressively grappling, passing. It just was a really vintage-like performance from Kamaru Usman. And I just think, like Alexander Volkanovski against Diego Lopez, maybe Diego Lopez beats Alexander Volkanovski in a future or, 3 times out of 10. But on that night and on this night, Kamaru Usman was back in a big way. And it's going to be interesting to see just how much he has left because he looked pretty prime on this night.
He really did. Experience matters so much in this game. Your ability to manage time, your ability to control time, especially if you are an elite grappler like Kamaru Usman. And he just played it brilliantly, man. Took Buckley out of his game completely. Never really let him get a whole lot of momentum. I think Joaquin Buckley's best round was round 5, which is a testament to Buckley and his conditioning and his preparation for this fight from a physical perspective, and his hunger. I think maybe an earlier Joaquin Buckley maybe would have given up a little bit at times, but no, Joaquin was determined to try to find a way to win this fight. He just wasn't able to. Kamaru Usman is just that good.
So my job affords me the opportunity, and yours, of course, to develop interpersonal relationships with these athletes. And sometimes maybe you find yourself doing a movie with Kamaru Usman at a challenging time in your personal life, as I did. And he's giving me all this personal life advice. And, we end up connecting in a pretty deep way. I called his UFC debut in 2015, and he looked like a future champion on that night. But I have to say, man, like when you see someone like Joaquin Buckley work himself into this moment, part of me does have a rooting interest on that side because you want him to realize the financial gain and financial freedom and everything that comes with being a world champion, right? And I know Joaquin Buckley has worked really hard, so I just sort of wanted to share that as a fan. I have sort of rooting interest on both sides of this, but I do feel bad for Joaquin Buckley. There are a lot of big fights for him. I still think it stands to reason that he can work his way back, but as we sort of move it forward for Kamaru Usman, he's number 5 in the world. His losing streak is a thing of the past. Obviously, there was the short notice fight against Khamzat Chimaev. The guys ranked above him, Leon Edwards, that's not going to happen. Shavkat Rakhmonov, number 3. Sean Brady, number 2. Bilal Muhammad, number 1. And Jack Della Maddalena is the champion fighting Islam Makhachev. So knowing that Kamaru Usman in a probability world may not accept anybody but Jack Della or Islam Makhachev, what would you do, Kenny, if it was a non-title fight for Kamaru Usman right now?
Well, I think these guys are doing their jobs for me here, or in the case of the UFC matchmakers, Bilal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman. I think that's a fight that does make sense. They both kind of have a certain disdain for each other. They have a history as far as calling each other out and going back and forth on social media. And both those guys are the top of the division right now, and I think at the top of their games. And I think it would be a very interesting fight. And if there's a certain time before one of those guys are going to get a shot, I think that's kind of the fight to make.
So I don't think we're going to see it. I'd be curious to get Jason Anik's take, and we can, I guess, go 3 wide if you do want to bring in Jay at some point here. Jason Anik, Dirty Boxing Commentator. One fighter sent me a private message that was like, hey, man, I miss when you used to get to do post-fight interviews, but I think your brother's already better than you at those. So it's great to see you, Jay. I say 0% chance we see Kamaru Usman versus Bilal Muhammad. I just don't think Kamaru's going to entertain that fight. I think there's no way the podcast footage, however unflattering maybe to Kamaru Usman, the unseen podcast footage between Kamaru Usman and Bilal Muhammad, I don't know that that's going to see the light of day. Maybe Usman's got a number, Jay, but I just don't think that he's going to entertain that type of fight. I think he's willing to wait a year, and he's going to let the sort of chips fall where they may. Your thoughts on that?
I tend to agree with you. Bilal Muhammad thought Joaquin Buckley was going to win, but was adamant that if Kamaru Usman passed that Buckley test, that Usman was next for him, Bilal Muhammad, the recent champion. I'm with Kenny in terms of wanting to see it, but I tend to agree with you, John. I think Usman made his statement on the microphone.
Yeah, he did. And twice, right? He twice positioned himself in a way that, and I get it, this performance sort of affords him that, right? As the, second greatest champion this division's ever seen next to George St. Pierre. So I understand why fans want to see Bilal Muhammad versus Kamaru Usman. I can understand why the UFC would love to put that fight together, either as a co-main event on pay-per-view underneath the welterweight championship or as a UFC Fight Night main event. But if you're asking me, I say unless Kamaru Usman is getting an absurd number, I just don't think that he's going to sign on the dotted line for that fight. That's my, I guess, informed speculation, if you want to call it that. So congratulations to Kamaru. We'll see what they do with Joaquin Buckley. I'd like to get to Rose Namajunas if I could, and we will do some dirty boxing stuff when Malki Kawa joins us here shortly. But
and I don't get to talk about Ken Flo's hair, right? It's just like all serious. Hey, boys, happy. Is it Monday? Monday, 11:15 a.m. What a whirlwind this commentary tour is. DBX was fun. I know we'll get into that, but Flo, the hair looks great. That's insane that it was 10 hours of tattoos. But you can talk about Thug Rose.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Well, I prefer Thug Rose Namajunas' haircut, actually. But now joining us as well as we table Rose for now, we are joined by the CEO. Dirty Boxing, Malki Kawa.
What's good, guys?
Great to see you, brother. Good morning to you. Congratulations on a big weekend. How are we feeling?
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, guys.
Hey, so Ken Flo just got back from Turkey. He didn't have to shave his head as he got his new hair. Would you ever get a hair transplant if you were losing your hair or no?
Dude, so let me show you something. So I actually, the picture you guys using me in your tweet is me bald, but I actually have hair at the top of my head. So my issue's always been the sides right here, which is what caused me to shave it. But then I recently said, F it, I'm going to grow this shit back out. So I grew it back out. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm thinking about doing the little sides there so I can get a full.
That's what
Like,
I
you know
did,
what I'm saying?
Malki. That's what
So,
I did, bro.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with. Listen, bro. Let me explain something to you. If chicks are allowed to do their tits, their ass, everybody's doing these fucking veneers in their mouths. I think men are allowed to fucking, do this stuff with their hair.
There you go. So thanks, Malki.
I think
But
you
hey,
got a good head.
but John, listen. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? So, funny thing about it is, and I gotta talk to Jason about this because this is a serious issue from us at DBX. The comments underneath all of our streams. This is
Yeah.
badass. This is badass. I can't take Jason serious with that stupid hair. So I think he needs to cut his shit off, if that makes sense. You feel me?
Yeah, I mean, I think he has to go shorter for sure. Right? I mean, I'm a bit, and you have a good head. I think you should be shaving your head. But yeah, we'll talk about Jay's hair at a later moment. So I want to be sort of efficient with this conversation about dirty boxing if we could. And yeah, Jay,
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
little fucking serious on a Monday because we have business. So I want to get to the big weekend DBX2 and all of that. But I just have to know, what was the genesis of dirty boxing? Who were the mouths in the room when this sort of was conceptualized? And congrats on a great start.
I appreciate that. So, dude, we so you guys know, right? Like we were behind like the Showtime fights, the Anthony Pettis stuff, and the Game Bred Fighting Championship, right? It was an idea that I came up with on having like a multi-conglomerate fight type business where there was a parent company that owned different ones, and then kind of like there was a certain business strategy to it, right? And things, where everybody kind of did their own thing, or whatever it might be. But we learned a lot from doing those fights, and we got back in a room and we sat down and we just looked at the landscape of fighting, right? Everybody sees the UFC success, and you've seen everybody from Strikeforce to Bellator to PFL, KSW, One Championship, all these different organizations are trying to create the next UFC, right? So I look at it like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Somebody's trying to be the Pepsi to the UFC's Coca-Cola, right? And they want to get that market share, whatever it might be. But we always find the same scenario. Somebody gets in, they raise a bunch of money, and then they pull out and they're gone. And every kind of organization kind of goes through that, and they keep going until it just doesn't exist anymore. So we looked at it, we got in a room, and when you look at where the market itself is going, like what you're doing with uh, when you understand social media, the generations that are coming up now, right? It's no longer the guys that are like us, the old school guys, where they're gonna be willing to tune in, watch an undercard, watch an early prelim, watch a main event, and go through the whole thing. I mean, people don't get it, but Slap's success is really strictly based on the fact that you get these 10-second quick viral moments and you're done with it, right? But there's millions and hundreds of millions of views. And so we sat in a room, and as we sat down and looked at all of that, we just basically got on a board and said, okay, guys, what do we like about the UFC? What do we like about boxing? What do we like about kickboxing? What do we like about jujitsu? And what don't we like about it? And so we just wrote the pros and the cons. And as we sat down there and did that, we just basically started creating a rule set that we thought would be super exciting, fast paced, that would capture someone to want to stay involved, right? And stay engaged. And that's where dirty boxing came from. People always sit there, look at it, and says, "Man, super smart naming it dirty boxing." I just think that we just basically took a part of what real boxing, I shouldn't say real boxing, but traditional boxing, I should say, right? Traditional boxing, dirty boxing is a part of it. That's the whole, you get in the inside, and you start doing things that might be quote unquote illegal, but it's legal until the referee stops it, right?
Right.
And we just said, let's just make it a rule set that kind of encompasses that, and let's just go with all the stuff that we like. I mean, I think John Jones is a very popular fighter because of all the spinning elbows and back fists we've seen over the years. So why not allow that? Boxing doesn't, right? Um, let's do some Superman punches. I think a Superman punch is super cool. Can't leave your feet in boxing. How about hammer fist and back fist and things of that nature? And I think as we started to like really look at it, we just came up with it. But then there's parts of the UFC and MMA, when you look at that, that's also super exciting, right? And when you get on top of a guy and the ground and pound is coming, or there's a guy that's rocked and you have the ability to chase him and finish it, I think is probably one of the biggest things that our rule set has. And so the break in action is no longer there, right? Like imagine in boxing, you get it, you're sitting here watching jab, 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 cross, jab, 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 cross, jab, 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 move your head. Here's a hook, here's an uppercut, you get stuck, boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden you throw something that drops a guy, and then you got to stop, and then you got to wait 10 seconds before the action comes back, and Now the guy's recovered, and we're back to jab, 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 throw across, jab, one, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what happens in all that is that you get a lot more decisions. You get a lot more, I guess you want to call them like these lows, right? That this just like there's this high, and then it's just you come back down. You may not come back up. And I think that's kind of what we've tried to avoid. We've tried to avoid the situation where there's, pauses in action. We want the action to continue. And as we continue to move, we're still refining our rule set to include certain things. Like, I mean, we might go to, if you start to grab, warnings and for stalling, and that can be considered stalling. You know what I mean? And we're talking that over now. So what you guys are going to get from us as we continue to go is just an action-packed, super, strategic rule set that's meant for everyone to enjoy what they're watching.
I think it's a smart approach, man. Malki, where do you want to take this sport? Like, what's your goal with DBX?
Dude, I want to make combat sports exciting. You know what I mean? I just want to make combat sports exciting again. I just think that we've lost, a lot of what we liked about combat sports, just in all of it. You know what I mean? Obviously the UFC is the king right now. I love the UFC. I think, obviously, Ken Flo, all of us right on this phone have all made our names through MMA, right? And MMA was an evolution of, a very simple format of, we want to know who has the best rules, like who has the best discipline in martial arts. So the Taekwondo guy fought the Kempo guy fought the boxer fought the wrestler, the Jiu-Jitsu guy, if you guys go back to, UFC 1, 2, and 3, basically won everything. And it didn't matter how much you weighed and all that. And as they refined the sport to make it a sport and something that was safe and more of a competition instead of a spectacle, right? You see the evolution of the UFC, and it's the world leader in combat sports. But you get into some of these cards, and the finishes aren't there the way you want them to be. And I think a lot of it has to do with the grappling. And for guys like us that are all into jiu-jitsu and wrestled and love those sports, I just think that sometimes the way those rules are applied in combat sports, when you get a guy taken down and you're on top of him and you're in a dominant position, but there's no action, bro, nobody wants to see that for 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to spend $1,500 to sit in the front row and be like looking at the screen waiting for a guy to stand up and potentially get a knockout. I get that's part of the drama, but I'd rather them just be like, if you're going to go to the ground, let's just try to finish it. And so that's kind of, how I see it. So look, dude, I'm not going to lie to you. The plans for DBX is to become a world leader in combat sports. You get where I'm coming from? Not competing with the UFC. I'm not trying to be boxing, but I want to be one of those promotions that people will look at across the world, right, and say, holy shit, I hope they come to my city. Sort of like how the UFC does. Yeah. So the plan is to go at some point week to week and do somewhere, north of 40 shows a year.
Wow.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of things going for you guys, and nice to see the likes of Andre Berto and other people in the building. Of course, the great John Jones and everybody else. Malki Kawa, Jason Anik from Dirty Boxing with us. And I have to say, even if my twin brother didn't work for the company, I really think you have struck a chord with this rule set, right? Like, Jason does a lot of grappling commentary. I don't watch that, No, I'm just kidding. But like the Dirty Boxing, I really think you have found the right rule set. Jay, I am going to put you on the spot a little bit in terms of the roster, right? Jairzinho Rosenstrike just made his Dirty Boxing debut. He's fighting this absolutely charismatic lunatic of a wolf from Worcester, Massachusetts, right? That's going to be the first Dirty Boxing heavyweight championship fight, as I understand it. But I'm looking for some of these other names, one or two. Luis Saldana just made his Dirty Boxing debut. This is a UFC level striker, a great kicker who now has to check those kicks, but he just won by TKO. Give me a name or two of guys who you've seen that you think can be a potential star for this promotion.
Well, I'll give you a few names in a minute, but you can see why Malki's the chief executive officer, can you not? And like this guy can promote. In terms of my hair, Malki, a lot of these fans are men, right? I don't really take my hair advice from men. Now, my wife would agree that I should trim up the lettuce a little bit, but Malki, you didn't know me with the hair down below my shoulders.
Dude,
but
listen,
talk to me.
I'm with you, but I'm a man of the people, bro. And if the people say the hair is stupid, the hair is stupid. I don't give a damn what your wife says, what your brother says, what anybody says. The people said your hair is stupid.
Adjective.
So at the end of the day, right? Shave the motherfucker so you look like your brother, and they can just biting the UFC.
Well, and that's the adjective he used, stupid, twice. And I'll talk to you about the fighters, but we could have a talk off the record. If you think I'm shaving my head to look like that guy, you got another thing coming.
I hear you, bud. I wouldn't want to look like him either.
But John, in terms of some of the fighters, before I even get to some of the sort of up and comers with Dirty Boxing, because I think your question is maybe the most important one. But there were 72 combined UFC fights on their resumes for fighters on the main card, right? I know Alex Caceres made up 30 of those fights, but the looks on the faces of Jessica Rose Clark and Alex Caceres literally looking like they never had more fun in their life. And Malki used the word lulls, right? Even from a commentator standpoint, find me a lull to get in with a thought in this sport, 3-3-minute rounds. So it's absolutely electric, and it flies by. We're not doing anything where we're trying to milk a broadcast. But in terms of some of the up and coming stars, let's just start with Rob Perez, right? There was a Dirty Boxing pilot in November. He fought on that and won. He also fought in March against Zach Pauga, who's been around, fought in the UFC and won. And then just beat Alex Nicholson, who Perry was adamantly rooting for in the booth, I might say. Worcester, Massachusetts own. Every time he gets on the mic, you already know he's a star. He was the star, star the moment I met him. So I think he's a promoter's dream. And whether Perry wanted Nicholson to win or not, and maybe I'm overstating this, but I think it's a dream that Rob Perez won. You get Wolf versus a legitimate UFC fighter in Jairzinho Rosenstrike. So that's the name that jumps off the map for me. Another guy, Guillermo Bastos, who fought his third fight, got fight of the night against Milos Janicic. And that's a name. Talk about YouTube comments. I didn't see anything about my hair. Everyone was talking about Milos Janicic, who has a huge following on Instagram, 18-3 in MMA, 18 finishes. There's a lot of different sort of avenues of the fighters in Dirty Boxing. I could talk for hours. It's been amazing.
But listen, let's go back to the DBX too. Do you remember the fighter that fought in that one fight where he hit him with a hook, dude falls, and he Hendo bombs the dude right after that?
Yes. You're putting me on
I think he's the guy also. Like, I mean, Ken Flo, here's the thing. There's dudes that legitimately are bringing it every single time. And so one thing I don't want to do, right? I don't want to be a guy that the UFC, cuts a guy, he's 40 plus years old, and then we're just going to keep bringing him in. Guys like, let's for example, let's just say Mark, you used Yoel Romero twice, right? But Yoel Romero is still a guy that can fight, right? Like, I'm not bringing guys that their chin is gone. I don't want to bring a guy that's not going to be able to fight. I don't want to bring a guy that can't have, you know what I mean, a respectable showing, right? Like, that's one thing we're not going to do. I don't care if they've lost 10 fights in boxing. I don't care if they've lost 10 fights in the UFC. If they are going to bring it and they're going to actually fight and they're going to put on a show, right, they have a home at DBX, right? So it's not about wins and losses. Because here's the thing. People are like, oh, that guy lost 5 times in the UFC. He sucks. Dude, he'd still beat your ass, right? Like, these dudes are still better than the average guy walking around that's not competing. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, if you're a guy that's fought in boxing or in the UFC or the PFL or Bellator, whatever it is, and you got something to you, right? But more than that, you're willing to come and actually put on a show, right? You'd have a home here, and we'll just build them back up. And at the end of the day, you know what I mean? That's what the UFC is about, right? Is which style is the best style. That was what their whole goal was in the very beginning. Now it's turned into who can take all the styles, mix it, and become the best mixed martial artist, right?
Great point. Yeah.
And so our promotion is not into all that. Our promotion is who's the best under this rule set that can make it exciting and that can make it entertaining for the fans. And whoever is that guy, right? And whoever. So, for example, even in like building up a fight, Jairzinho Rosenstrike, a guy would tell me, well, Mark, he's only had one fight under these rules, right? So why would he get a title shot? I think he brings a legit kickboxing record with him. He brings a legit UFC record with him. He's fought in some of the biggest fights out there. He won under our rule set. He knocked the guy out. Who's also a respectable guy. And I think that for me to put him through 3 more fights to build him up is not necessary. But this Rob Perez guy, if he can beat Jairzinho Rosenstrike, I really believe in my heart, kid could be start to become a big time star, right? And that can start to be a guy that people will tune into and watch. And those are the guys
and be one of your first true homegrown stars. And then maybe Yoel Romero shows up in his bracket in his first title defense for the Dirty Boxing Heavyweight Championship. Hey, congratulations. You can follow at Dirty Boxing. DBX3 is July the 26th. And
hold on.
30 more seconds. I'll give you 30 more seconds.
We're going to probably
You're going to move that?
Probably going to move that. Correct.
Okay. Okay.
We're gonna probably go August 1st instead of July 26th. We're gonna go probably just a week later. We got some stuff that we're gonna do that's gonna be a little bit interesting. Might move the location, all that other stuff. There's some things that we still have to tighten up on. Listen, the one thing I will say, whoever comes to our events, you know what I mean. We're only gonna make them better. Whoever's watching our events, the production, all that quality, still, it's just all gonna get better. And I really, we've hired a lot of key people, and we think that we have a product in the next year that will be something that I can take on the road and really, start to really put out there as we're doing now, if that makes sense.
Well, congratulations, Malki Kawa, the CEO. Jason, I'm going to keep you around just for a second as we cross over to Ray Longo. My man, I appreciate
No, I'm going to go find this motherfucker.
And I am going to talk to his barber, Gianni, and we'll take that level down on the hair a little bit, Malki.
Dude, but that's the problem. That's the problem, though. His barber's name is Gianni, guy. I don't know what else to tell you, Gianni. I'm just saying.
Throw John a contact. Contact for the ball guy. See if you can afford the ball guy on the screen.
Hey, thank you, brother. All the best. We'll talk to you soon, Malki.
Take care.
Love you, man. Thank you.
Malki Kawa with us here on the Anik Florian podcast. Really enjoyed the dirty boxing stuff. You can go 4 wide and bring on the absolute legend, Raymond Peter Longo. Are we going to Baku, Azerbaijan?
Well, yes, we are. Well, let me take a look at Kenny. I don't have my contacts. And how we looking, buddy?
There's nothing that I look exactly the same I did last week. You can't even tell.
Dude,
really? The close-up? Get out of here.
I'll tell you, John, you know what he did? This son of a bitch, he didn't get a hair transplant. He had a facelift. He looks great, this guy. Why would he get a hair transplant? Guy's got, look at the hair.
I don't need any more rumors, bro.
Are you kidding, Kenny? You got your eyes done.
So
I did not. Oh, God.
I don't want to embarrass the man. Code Blue was trying to go on the close-up there. But
what's up with that?
He didn't have to. You can go big on.
You look amazing.
He didn't have to shave his head, Ray. A lot of these guys shaving their heads. He didn't have to do that.
I'm going. If I don't have to shave my head, I'm doing it. Wait, did you fly out of Istanbul or?
I did. I went to Istanbul and back, man.
How's the airport?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Listen, I'm a happily married man.
Wait, hang on a second.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I've heard the airport at Istanbul, Turkey is like otherworldly amazing. No,
it's really not. It's really nice, dude. Okay, and I didn't know how beautiful the women are in Turkey, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of good-looking women in Turkey. Yeah. I did not know. It took me by surprise. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Wow. Did you get
do you want to answer Ray's question before I so rudely interrupted?
Sorry about that, John.
No, I so rudely interrupted. You had asked Ken Flo a question.
Well, I want to know if he got himself any Turkish taffy.
What is Turkish taffy? I know Turkish delights. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Turkish. You don't remember Wow. I'm aging myself.
Ray.
Yeah, whatever.
Ray.
Yes.
When are you leaving for Azerbaijan?
Very soon.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
look at this guy. Dedication.
Bang out the podcast, and that's it, baby. We're going.
All right. Well, we're not going to keep you long. So, it's interesting, there was some rumor report that maybe Jamahal Hill was having some trepidation about going. I think it was probably just a false report, but given everything that's going on in the world, I do know that there are some people who have a little bit of trepidation going to Azerbaijan. Maybe those people aren't as tough as you, but
no, I'm not that tough. I'm shitting in my pants.
Are you? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
you're gonna be fine. So it's interesting. I remember in April of 2020 when I was trying to convince my wife that I was going to fly to Denver and then I was going to rent a car and drive to Lemoore, California so we could do a UFC live event just as COVID had started. She's like, "You're a lunatic." And I'm like, Dana White, brick wall, we run through it. And the event got canceled, right? But it is a tricky situation, a guy like Bruce Buffer getting on a plane to go to Azerbaijan right now. And, it's for a lot of people, I think it's an inconvenient truth of the industry that we're in, I guess, Ray, that depending on what's going on and where you're going, it's wheels up for Nazim Sadikov.
Yeah. It is what it is. Look, Naz is in his hometown. He's got his family going. He's super excited. It looks like he's having a great time over there. So it's a big deal for him. And I'm going to take a stop in Italy for a couple of days, get a taste of my homeland, and
nice.
head over to Baku.
Nice.
That's amazing. Is your wife going with you?
Yes, she is.
Oh, yeah. So you're not shitting your pants. Your wife's with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Can all go down together, Ray. So,
oh my God, dude, Jason, what's the matter with him?
What? I was wondering why I was here, and it's just to have one of those moments where I'm embarrassed. I mean, he embarrassed Dominic Cruz and I so often in Montreal. We're like kids, just no, in a good way. He just doesn't give. He just doesn't
that's
care.
Good stuff.
He just loves running his mouth. I'll be quiet. What? I'll be quiet.
No, you're
Love
great.
your
You're
church.
great. Ray, what do we think of this Nicholas Moda that Nas is fighting this weekend?
Yeah, tough. I think tough kid, basic, very basic, but tough. And I think Nas has got way too many skills, and he's seen that type of shit a lot. So I think Nas should run circles around him.
Okay. All right, Jay, we're going to talk to Raymond about Kamaru Usman, but I just wanted to say to you before we sort of let you go, congrats on an outstanding performance at Dirty Boxing, post-fight interviews and everything else. You did a great job. I hope you have a great day and a better evening. And if you have a parting shot, we'll fucking take it. Otherwise, you can close your StreamYard, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Yeah, the parting shot. Good luck to my boy, Ignacio Bahamondes.
Yeah.
So let's fucking go, Ignacio.
How do you lose his ranking?
He'll get it back in only a matter of days. Team Muhammad, Yair Rodriguez is out there. This is huge for Nacho. John, you always talk about a 2-year setback. Forget that. He's not quite in the title picture yet, but this either puts him in perhaps a title conversation or keeps him out of the rankings. So Rafael Fiziev, a dangerous, hungry fighter on a losing streak, but Nacho, I've seen him go from boy to man. Let's go, kid. That's it.
That's a great way to put it. All right, Jason Anik at Boston Anik. Thank you, buddy. Ray, it is interesting. Ignacio Bahamondes beats Jalen Turner in the manner in which he does, right? And then loses his ranking to Joel Alvarez, who was maybe elevated because he was going to compete and then didn't. What?
Yeah, I have no clue. No clue.
What?
Doesn't make sense.
Anyway. Right.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's hard. That's actually horrible too, because that kid's really good. I like Ignacio. It's going to be a really good fight.
Mm-hmm.
And someone would say it's neither here nor there, but just what exactly would you say you do here? My God. All right. Kamaru Usman, Ray. To what extent did he maybe even exceed your expectations in terms of either turning back the clock or turning in a performance like that against, a guy that's got all the hunger and the drive in the world right now in his prime to try to beat him?
Oh, exceeded it by a lot. I thought the guy looked great. His shots looked good. His control was good. For a guy 38 who they said had knee problems, I've seen what that looks like. It doesn't look like that. You know what I mean? So I think he did really, really good. Definitely warrior mentality, used his experience. And, even in the last round when the guy was chasing him around, he had the experience to weather whatever little storm the guy brought and did just a great fight for him. I thought it was either going to go that way or it would be the other way. It was just his time that he's just getting older and it wasn't going to look good. But he exceeded my expectations. I thought he did good. I thought he would win, but he did way better than I thought. He looked fantastic, really.
Yeah, he was moving great, Ray.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like he was younger and just fresher. And is this a guy that can get the belt back? I mean, he's talking like he's going to win the welterweight belt and then go up to middleweight, win that. I mean, based on that performance, didn't look too shabby, man.
I'll tell you, I think for him it's going to be getting through the training camps at this point at 38, looking at 39. I mean, that's going to be the tough part is navigating finding that right spot. It can't be like he was when he was 29 or 28. You know what I mean? So that's I think that's the problem. But he's definitely got a lot of good fights in him. He proved it. Championship. I think it's just getting him through the camps healthy. And I don't know. He did look good against Hamza too. He might be a different cat. This guy, he might defy the odds of getting older. But he definitely showed he could do it. I just think. The other problems of, how many injections did it take him to get to that octagon? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on. So to me, I think when you get older like that, 38, 39, 40, that training camp becomes critical, finding the right recipe to maximize your tools.
Appreciate everybody joining us live on the Anik Florian podcast. It's the Ray Longo Minute, heard every Monday for the last 10 years successively. Episode 555 today. Ray, so we talked a little bit about dirty boxing, which I think is an interesting rule set, and they have some momentum right now. But we were about to get into a conversation about one of the all-time greats for me, man or woman, Thug Rose Namajunas. And you know, oftentimes we talk about mixed martial arts, Kenny and I do, as the Hunger Games. And I thought it was interesting, this Peruvian flyweight, Jose Ochoa. And I think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on the post-fight show mentioned the word bravery, right? Which can be so critical in combat. If you have the bravery, and maybe it's easier at flyweight to have bravery than at 185 pounds. But I just think Rose is brave. She's hungry. She has found herself mentally, spiritually, physically, and you know, anytime there is a sort of challenge, right, that is below the championship level, I just think she passes it with flying colors. This one had its own wrinkle with a former teammate of several years, and all hail Thug Rose. I can't wait to see her inducted into the Hall of Fame, but she might not be done chasing UFC gold just yet.
Yeah, see, she looks like she's still peppy and got a lot, you know, even her decisions, her fight IQ was really, really good in this fight. But I mean, I thought Miranda Maverick, I thought it was a great fight, very close fight, great fight. But you know, again, the experience, you know, it came down to Rose, and what Rose said, I do believe is pretty accurate. She took way more chances than she did in sparring, so that's a good sign for Miranda because she brought it. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, but Rose, man, come on, think of the experience she's got and the people she's fought. So I think girls are a little different. She looked really good to me. Whereas Usman looked great. I think better than like even Volkanovski did, you know, because Volk looked great too. But you could see it's coming, like, you know what I mean. So I think Usman did a great job with that. But Rose, to me, man, she fought a really good 3-round fight against a tough girl.
So I would imagine some part of promoting at the championship level centers around a conversation as to which fighter as the champion would make the most money in that division. And this women's flyweight division is absolutely fascinating, right? You have a fighter like Jasmine Jasudavicius, who I think can be a world champion, even though she got a late start. But stylistically, I think she can be the champion in this division if she gets the right fight, the right opportunities, right? And in Canada, right, they go mad up there for commentators, never mind fighters, right? So the appetite, it's all been embedded by George St. Pierre, is healthy. So Valentina Shevchenko is the champion. Promotionally, if I'm the guy, and it's the Anik Florian Fighting Championships, which will be launched soon, you know, we're going Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. But now you have, you know, a true number one contender in Natalia Silva. You have Thug Rose Namajunas. And then, of course, the aforementioned Jasmine Jasudavicius. So I would pose the question to both of you. You know, Rose says she's ready to fight Valentina for the belt if she's afforded the opportunity. I don't know which fighter as champion makes the most money for this division, but a lot of different opportunities at 25, Ray. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think that you just mentioned, man, you got a lot of good fights in those 5 people, but that Natalia Silva looks like a handful because of the movement and the way she throws those kicks, and she's young. I think she's the girl to watch. She looks like she's got good takedown defense. She can keep the fight where she wants it. They're all good fights. You know, can Rose's footwork offset her footwork with the kicks? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see that fight too. I'd love to see. I think the Weili and Shevchenko has to happen, though. I think that still is the fight to make.
Yeah, Kenny.
And then after that, take any one of those girls. And I agree, totally agree with Jasmine. Man, she looks like she's on a great trajectory, very confident. Scrappy, nasty, you know what I mean? Nice girl, but she's I like her, man. That's 5 good people right there. Mix and match, and you have a great fight anywhere.
Ken Flo, Zhang Weili is an absolute wrecking ball. She deserves to fight to become a simultaneous double champion. I think we're probably aligned on that. But what are your thoughts on this women's flyweight division? It's crazy to think back to Nico Montano and now to think about this division being in the best place that it has ever been.
Yeah, the sport has evolved so much, especially in regards to the women's mixed martial arts. The level's getting better every year. And I think I know where you're going with this. First of all, Natalia Silva, she's the logical choice to be the next challenger based on what she has done and based on what she can do. She is an elite striker, truly, in every aspect, John. So I think she could be not only a champion in that division, but someone who could hold the belt for a long time. But when you're talking about two faces on the poster, and sometimes it's just that obvious and that easy as far as what fight you're going to make and who's going to bring in the most money, Rose Namajunas is the one. So if she gets another win, potentially maybe not even get another win, and just sticks around, that's a fight that could potentially happen. Why? Because it comes down to business and what's going to bring in the most amount of eyeballs to that next fight. So if Natalia Silva is injured or for whatever reason or something happens, I think that Rose Namajunas just put herself in a very good spot to maybe be, another challenger for that belt.
I mean, do you think Rose is the biggest draw out of all those people?
I think without a doubt.
Oh, wow. I would have.
So I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, Valentina. I mean, if Valentina has the belt, then of course.
Oh,
right.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
talking about challengers, right? So
Oh,
but
yeah,
I don't
sorry
know.
about
Like,
that.
I don't
Sorry.
know. But who is a bigger pay-per-view draw, Valentina Shevchenko or Zhang Weili, for example? Like, I forgive my ignorance. I don't know, right?
No, only
people want to talk to me about needle movers and television ratings, and I'm just calling the fights. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying because you don't know what the Chinese market or the Russian market.
Exactly.
Like, I don't, you know what I mean? That's what we
Exactly.
don't know. I mean, we can get a
Right.
grasp over here, but whatever.
But Macy Barber is still an absolute beast, right? And Aaron Blanchfield, of course, factors in this. So
man,
good
that
times for the
division
women.
is awesome. Yeah, that division is really awesome. I forgot about them.
But like we can say without a shadow of a doubt that Jack Della Maddalena being the champion in Australia is good for business. Right?
Yeah.
We can
Well,
all
I think
agree.
they look,
Australian
I
MMA
think they
champion.
look for they look for the other countries.
Meeting Alexandre Pantoja would probably be good for business. No? I think it would be.
Yeah.
The appetite for mixed martial arts in Australia right now is insatiable. It is peaking. I don't know that it could be any more so. So, yeah, it's an interesting conversation. It really is. But I do think they'll do Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. But all hail Rose, man. It's just so much respect for the career and the performance, right? And, fighting a very hungry Miranda Maverick. So, all right, a few more minutes here with Ray Longo before we let you go. What time's your flight, Raymond?
It's like 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay. So you got a little bit of time. I'm glad that the women's flyweight conversation, and if you could refrain from calling them girls in the future, we'd appreciate that. But I'm glad the women's flyweight conversation seemed to, maybe perk you up a little bit, because I feel like I've been where you are right now, sitting on an itinerary to Perth, Western Australia.
Oh,
and,
no, without a doubt. What about, hold on, before we go, what about the guy that got upkicked by Craig? Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Please. So let me set it up first, and then I will lay out.
Set it up.
Because some of our listenership and viewership maybe did not see the featured prelim. Paul Bearju Craig lands an illegal upkick on Rodolfo Bellato. And Bellato initially protests to the referee, and then in a very theatrical way, acted maybe, or really was hurt. I don't know. But Ray, what were your thoughts on Bellato's reaction and the ultimate no contest?
I think there's a lot going on here, but I think I'm going to defend the guy. All right. He gets up kicked. It's really confusing because there's a lot of things that happen that we haven't seen, but a lot that happen that we have seen. And we do know that guys, when they go out, they're still moving. They still think they're using their guard. They're wrestling with the referee. So he's in the realm of that, but what I think happened, which I don't think anybody said yet, is that when he got up kicked, he looked at the ref like, what the fuck? And then his head bounced off the canvas, and it was like second impact syndrome. And he went out, and he didn't know where he was. He started crawling to the fence. I mean, the weirdness is that he did look at the ref like to say, that's what everybody's keying in on. Like, he bitched at first, But I do think the second, this is why, Kenny, I tell my guys, you get a guy hurt like that, let him up. That second and third shot's actually going to kill him. Like, you let the guy recover down there. That's a perfect example. That guy got hit, and then he went to bitch. His head hit the canvas. That's the second shot. And I think he was out. I don't think your brain act that quick where you look at a ref and then you make the decision, I'm going to act. This is like a split second. If he could do that, I give him a lot of credit. I don't think he could do it. I think it was that second impact, whatever the hell they call it. His head bounced off the canvas. Yeah. And then he did what we saw. Look at Shane Burgos. He got hit 3 seconds later. He's out. Nobody knew what the hell that was.
Yeah, Edson Barboza. Kenny.
So I'm defending
did you see what we're talking about, Ken Flo?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me just read you a few things real quick. So Joe Rogan, in a text thread with me and Daniel Cormier, sent me this quote from Anthony Lionheart-Smith on the post-fight show about this. You see his eyes come to the referee to protest and then realizes maybe I can get a free win, lays there, pretends he's unconscious, jolts back awake, allegedly. The referee comes over. This is a man that is awake, pretends to grapple the referee as if he's unconscious, trying to get a cheap win. I've been doing this a long time, and I know what it looks like when somebody is faking it, right? So Rogan then wrote, and I'm peeling back the curtain, I guess, a little bit. Did you guys see this last night? I wasn't sure what was going on. A lot of people think he was faking it, but I felt like he genuinely got fucked up, right? Then I wrote, I saw it, still can't be sure, but I'm with you. I don't think he would have nor could have acted to this extent if he wasn't genuinely hurt. And then DC wrote that he thought he was hurt, but the more he saw it, as with most things, your mind starts to mess with you. And I think there is a little bit of that our minds are starting to mess with us a little bit. But Ken Flo, this is thespian on like a whole new level. If he's acting to this extent, he maybe should be cut.
Listen, in a split second, can your brain work like that, you think? I don't think so.
I'll say this.
So in a split second, he looked at the ref, bitched, and then started. I mean, like, that was really quick. But if you look, his head bounces off the canvas. That's where the second shot comes in that I don't think anybody's mentioned. And that's what put him out, I think. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. And we also need to kind of go back and look at what has been a consistent level of character or maybe certain personality traits of the fighter in question, right? Is Bellato a guy who has been known to quit? Have you guys seen his fights? He's been on the brink of getting knocked out and come back in some of the most insane ways in the UFC. Look at every single one of his fights. Are we saying this is a guy, first of all, any guy in the UFC who is going to quit? And then let's look at Bellato's past fights. Has he ever shown that he is a dude who is going to take the easy way out? No, in my opinion, absolutely not. And listen, the brain is a funny thing. It's not meant to get hit. And when it gets hit, it does some freaking weird things that maybe don't make sense. We've seen so many times guys go, I'm fine, push the referee off of them, get up, and now they're stepping in potholes and they can't even hold themselves up because they think they're perfectly fine, right? So it's like you can think, and he's on the ground. At no point did he even try to get up and all these things. So again, it's odd. And you know, there is like your body that wants to continue fighting. You know, there's the stress of like getting hit and being in a fight. And then there's the brain, which is also trying to function while it's being short-circuited by a shot on bottom. So again, you know, it's tough. And why can't we also mention that was an illegal blow after all?
Yeah, right. What are we talking about? That
was an illegal blow.
Shot. Horrible shot.
Yeah, and the same thing with Aljo. Remember, I mean, everyone was tearing apart Aljo because like they couldn't possibly comprehend that he was hurt from a shot just like it's like, guys, it was an illegal blow at the end of the day. Paul Craig was the guy that screwed up, and nobody's mad at Paul Craig. It's like you guys want to satisfy your bloodthirst with a continuation of a fight, you know, because some other guy threw an illegal kick. Okay, but anyway, so that's my take on it. I think that you know, Anthony Smith is open. You know, he's definitely you know, he's got a strong opinion on things, and it is possible. It is absolutely possible if that's what happened. However, based on what I've seen from Bellato, based on kind of, you know, I would give him the benefit of the doubt.
And I'll tell you, Kenny, based on what you're saying, I think now he wasn't faking it because he has taken a lot of shots in the past.
Oh my
which
gosh.
means it's only a matter of time till
Right.
that, neuroplasticity changes in his brain. I mean, it's
Yeah.
scary. And
Yeah.
that shot was vicious. That fight, you know what? At that time, the fight should be over. You're gonna make a guy recover from that and have to go out and fight. How good is that?
Right.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean, John? Like you want to start a sparring session, get down on your knees. I'm gonna boot you as hard as I can in the face, and then get up and finish the round. I don't know, man. That's asking a lot. That was a vicious shot.
Go ahead, Flo.
I was going to say, and whether up kick should be legal or not, I think that's another question altogether. I actually kind of think they should, but a rule is a rule, and you gotta you gotta respect it, and that's just what happened, man.
Juliana Pena, Kayla Harrison, right? It was a quick point taken away from Juliana Pena. I actually, maybe in the minority, thought that was just. I agree that they should be legal, but Kenny, just what a great point to actually inject Bellato's fighting history into the conversation.
Really
you're a lot of depth to your thought, and we appreciate you bringing that to the podcast today, of course. And Anthony Smith is one of my favorite colleagues. He's certainly of the opinionated variety, right? But I do think that upon further review, I look forward to having a conversation with Lionheart about this. But yeah, man, it's like, what does a win by DQ do for Bellato other than double his paycheck, right? Like the guy's trying to become a champion. And if this was indeed concussive damage, that is not anything that's going to help that initiative. So Ray, if I was flying to Baku, Azerbaijan, and someone tried to be like, would you rather be physically stronger? Like if I'm flying to Perth and someone's like, hey, you got time for a few would you rathers? I'd be like, you can fuck right off. I'm about to go on a 37-hour trip. Ray, how do you feel about a couple would you rathers before you go wheels up?
What time is it?
It's 11:57. Give me two.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so.
Would you rather lose the ability to cry or cry every day for 20 minutes randomly? So you're holding pads, you're working out, all of a sudden you're fucking crying. Like you're watching a romantic comedy or something.
I'd rather lose the ability to cry.
Of course you would. When was the last time you cried?
Oh, I might be crying to 20 minutes a day. I might already be doing that. I'm at that point.
You may cry on your way to the airport. It's interesting to see Kamaru Usman be so emotional and say, he said maybe, I'm a girl dad. And it's like, bro, you're just a dad. Like, I'm telling you, I didn't cry for 10 years. Once I had kids, someone else's kid, like hula hoops I'm fucking crying.
I got you got another like 4 or 5 years, you'll be crying a lot. I always tell you that.
I'm telling you.
I remember Sarah calling me up. He goes, dude, I'm like watching a movie. I go, dude, that happens. I just sit there like a baby at this point.
Yeah, okay.
I noticed the difference too.
I got. Oh no, it happens, man. I swear to God, I don't know when, but it's in your 40s towards the end, and then you have to come up with different ways of disguise and how to wipe your tears away, so nobody knows you're crying in your family.
Yes.
So they don't call you a big baby.
Yeah. Well, you just start wearing sunglasses indoors, and people are like, "You look like a fool," and it's like, "Yeah, well, eventually I'm gonna be crying, and you ain't gonna know."
Yeah. Yeah, normally before the movie, I just start saying how bad my allergies are, just in case anything happens.
Yeah. Anybody got a Claritin over there? All right, Ray, before we let you go, would you rather your only mode of transportation be a donkey or a giraffe?
Ooh. Is it supposed to be I'm an ass, so I'll take the donkey? I don't know. I'll take a donkey. They look like they're good
getting
for that.
on a giraffe every time seems like a real hassle.
It's a spectacle.
I'll feel like Don Quixote on the donkey. I'll take that.
Yeah. You know what else
Maybe
is a
fight
hassle?
a couple of windmills,
Hey, Ray. We wish you all the best in Baku, Azerbaijan.
Are you telling me you're not going to be there?
I am not going there. I got the UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony coming up in about 10 days and UFC 317. So
can you put in a good word for my award?
I certainly will. And we'll see if you guys can hold serve as a minus 455 or so betting favorite against Nicholas Moda. Wow. My goodness, Ray. A lot of pressure on you guys. Near 5-1. Jeez.
No, Nas is good, man. This kid, I mean, you can't get you can't get into like a firefight with him, which Nas every so often likes to do just to prove how tough he is, I guess.
Yeah.
But and he likes the pocket fighting. But if he keeps him at distance, he's going to pick him apart for sure.
Yeah. No, Nas talks like Marab and Bilal that he's going to be a future champion. Just wait and see.
Yeah. Oh, he's got the goods. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Have a safe trip. We love you. Thanks for the time, and look forward to recapping it with you upon return, my man. Best to the wife, and enjoy your trip.
Will do. Thanks, guys. Love you. Talk to you later.
Love you too.
Take it easy.
All right, there he is, Ray Longo, every week here on the Anik Florian podcast. And, you know, it's I have my dream job, right? But there are things that are hard about it, whether it's being away 100 nights a year or flying to Perth, Western Australia by myself from South Florida, which, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, are, you know, like you could just tell with Ray's sort of energy right now. It's just a lot, you know, but nothing we'd all rather be doing for the most part. Well, the NBA Finals are going strong, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make this a Finals to remember. Here's something special we got for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets. If your bet wins, this is your last chance to bet on the NBA this season. That is not lost on me, so download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, not now, but right now. Use code AFPOD. That's code AFPOD for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right, now joining us, I mean, just building up the whole room as he enters. UFC Bantamweight on the rise after a massive weekend. Malcolm Wellmaker is with us, Augusta, Georgia's own. My man, congratulations on a massive result this weekend. Jon Anik Kenny Florian, I think meeting you for the first time. Great to see you, brother. How are we feeling?
Feeling incredible, man. I was already, you know, doing pretty good off of my Kansas City win, and after this one, man, everything is even better.
So you have handled yourself so well professionally inside and outside of the octagon, and I'm excited to get the chance to work one of your fights. But my goodness, bro, and you said this in your post-fight interview after the fact with Charlie Arnold, I believe, but Chris Moutinho has a legendary chin, and he actually, upon further review, even seemed like he might have braced for a split second. Your right hand is something that this division is probably going to have to deal with at the higher level at some point in time. What was that moment like for you to do it, you know, 150 miles or so from home?
Oh, man. From the moment I walked out, you know, I had a real good song the crowd was in tune with, and the energy was just crazy. You know, even before I walked, when I was in the tunnel and they pulled the curtains, man, the fans were like shaking the rails and, you know, going wild. So it was from the moment I walked out to when I got in there, and every shot I put on them, it was just absolutely electric, man. It was incredible, and it felt like fighting on the regional scene back before I got to the UFC, but just times 100. It was insane.
Yeah, are you able to control that and kind of take that in, you know, fighting in the UFC and kind of comparing it to kind of some past experiences coming up on the regional scene?
Yeah, man. You know, I fought locally as a main event quite a couple of times. You know, I always had a lot of local support. So I'm used to, you know, a lot of people coming to show me love and having that pressure of performing for people that I know personally. But, you know, when I go into the cage and the bell rings, man, I just get into a kill mode, and it's always been the same.
How much are you watching other guys in the division and maybe preparing for other guys that you could fight?
All the time. Every UFC event there is, if there's a bantamweight fight on it, I'm usually watching them. And nowadays, you know, I have that perspective of them being possible competition.
So you're 31 years of age, right? So maybe 8 or 9 years or so into this thing. Relative to your expectations, have you exceeded them? You're an undefeated fighter, but you have resonated with the fans in a way that few fighters do this early into their UFC careers. So where are you relative to what maybe your timeline was to get to this point in your career?
Yeah, it depends on what point of my career you asked me what my expectation was. Because when I first started, I never even planned on competing at all. And then when I started, competing as an amateur and getting belts, then I started thinking maybe I could go pro. And then when I got the opportunity to fight for Jorge Masvidal is when I finally started to believe I could make it to the UFC. So, my expectation for myself has been relative to the amount of success that I've achieved throughout the course of my career. I've just always consistently worked hard. My coaches have always believed that I could go really far in this game. But my expectations now, obviously are to try to climb to the top of the division and, really make some noise. So every time I compete, to be honest, man, I'm blowing the expectations that I have for myself out of the water.
UFC Bantamweight Malcolm Wellmaker joining us live here on the Anik Florian podcast. You can follow this man at Wallow the Machine. So what was your athletic background like in terms of high school? Were you doing martial arts? What were you doing?
I was playing drums in high school, and I was making beats. Yeah,
wow.
The only sports background I had was like Little League basketball, and I stopped when I was like 10 years old. And I was a bench warmer, like I wasn't even that good. So no wrestling, no boxing, not even karate classes or anything, man. I didn't take my first actual combat sports, or even competitive kind of sports training until I met the guys at Fagler's MMA.
So it sounds like you have had a coach or two or maybe three that really believed in you. Who are the men behind the man?
It's the Fagler family. So you got Pops, who was like, the OG, he did the Kempo karate, fought in gis and like these free for all tournaments, crazy stuff. And he raised his sons, Jake and Joel, who also went on to compete in MMA, obviously in the more modern era. And those three men, Jake, Joel, and Pops, are like brothers and a father to me. I always compare my relationship with Pops like Custom Model and Mike Tyson. I came from a very spotty background. I got in a lot of trouble as a kid. I didn't really have a lot of self-belief. And when Pops met me, he saw this little fire in me, and he kept convincing me, like, you could be like this guy, you could be like that guy, you could do this, you could do that. And over time, man, it came true.
So
Malcolm,
you went to
sorry.
Go ahead,
John.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, please.
Yeah, Malcolm, I wanted to ask about that right hook, man, because it's rare that you see a knockout that is actually scary, and to see it in the bantamweight division is just insane, dude. I'm still shocked and horrified. But this is the third one in a row now with that right hand. Is this something you've been developing and you kind of know, like, hey, if I land this right hook, people are in trouble, or is this taking you by surprise?
Yeah, to be honest, it's a tool that's been reliable for me in the past, but it's not been something that I always was like, if I land this shot, I know they're going to sleep. For a while, it was, my straight left from southpaw. For a while, it was an uppercut, and the right hook has always been in that bag. But now I'm starting to convince myself that it is the death shot.
Jeez.
So on the post-fight show, Anthony Lionheart-Smith and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson were sort of talking about you, and I think your relative likability and how happy they were for you to have this moment walking out of the octagon in Georgia. And Kenny has had these moments. I have not had these moments, of course, right? But to be able to, knock a motherfucker out with a right hook like that and then walk out of the octagon with the adoring fans, like Anthony Smith was saying, he's been there and he feels so good that you were able to experience that moment. I'm not sure if you were able to sort of take a moment and enjoy the fruits, but what was it like to go, nearly fatalize a man and then walk out with your fans?
It was like a party, man. I was jumping, I was dancing, I was touching hands, and as the tunnel was going higher as I was walking back, I was jumping up to try to touch more people's hands. It's special, and even this time, it was a girl who grabbed my arm, and she didn't want to let me go, so I'm like, touch myself. That was the first time that happened, so next time I'm gonna be a little bit, shy with the touches, but man, it was incredible. It was like a movie, man.
You got to be careful as a fighter. Some girls won't let go, bro.
Yeah, she went harder than I expected. I was like, security, like, come on now.
Yeah, where are you? So as you sort of spin it forward when it comes to your career, it seems to me like maybe you're not the calling out type, more entrusting the UFC, at least right now, to give you the right matchups as you try to propel your career forward. But at least in terms of a timeline, maybe as you look ahead to a main event down the line, fighting 25 minutes, how soon, I mean, not a scratch on you, how soon might we see you back in there? And, you know, are you thinking like top 25 level competition at this point in time or what?
Yeah, man. I like fighting. You know, I like to stay consistent in my competition. So as soon as something comes across that makes sense, I would love to get back in there. So hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months, I get a good opportunity to go in there and climb up the ranks. As far as how high, I believe I'm prepared for that type of competition. But obviously it's up to my coaches and up to my management to make sure that the right move is made. And I think obviously too, with fighting consistently, I don't have to jump ranks extremely fast as long as I'm moving in the right direction. So hopefully, you know, higher in competition soon in the next couple months. And maybe by the end of the year or early next year, I'll have a rank next to my name.
Just a couple more minutes here with the great Malcolm Wellmaker joining us live on the Anik Florian podcast. So in terms of your development as a fighter, sometimes I like to talk to fighters about, you know, if they have any negative emotions when it comes to certain elements of their training or wrestling maintenance. What is the most challenging thing for you as you look at maybe a fighter like Merab Dvalishvili or other different skills in this division? What is the biggest developmental challenge for you as you try to get your all-around game to a championship level?
Yeah, I think it's obvious that my striking is my best attribute. And because of that, naturally, my grappling and wrestling is going to be farther behind in the aspect of my strengths. But, you know, I focus very, very heavily on that and have focused very, very heavily on that with my team for a while now. Even when I was preparing for Cameron Simon, you know, we expected him to make it a wrestling and grappling match. So that whole camp, I was mad because my camp wouldn't let me strike. I came in every day and it was like rolling, it was grappling, it was wrestling. I was sick of it. So with moving forward, you know, I've implemented private training sessions with grappling coaches, with wrestling coaches. So we're leaving no stone unturned. We're making sure that I'm prepared for when I get that phone call and it's not going to be a striking match, that I can wrestle with these guys, grapple with these guys, and make them have to strike with me.
Well, we're excited to see the progression. Before we let you go, you know, your Instagram and X handle is Walla the Machine. And, of course, this division has a champion, the Machine, Merab Dvalishvili. Like, dude, what the fuck is that guy made of, right? Like Gable Stevenson said he's not a regular human, right? And it's interesting because a lot of guys, Dominic Cruz and Umar Nurmagomedov and Sean O'Malley, a lot of people are excited about the possibility of beating that man and think they have what it takes. And then I don't know, man. So what are your thoughts on Merab Dvalishvili?
You know, Merab, I love that guy, you know, for many reasons. And with his last performance, I mean, he just impressed me so much because he looked better, you know, as deep into his career as he is, being a returning, you know, victor in his last fight, you expect more of a similar look. I mean, he just looked levels above what he did in the last time. And that was unfathomable to me. Obviously, we shared the same fight name. Both of us come from a construction background. He even congratulated me when I walked away from my job. So I have absolute love, respect, and admiration for somebody like him, but also seeing somebody like him keep getting better and keep putting the division on notice makes somebody like me work harder. Because obviously one day I would love to fight somebody like him. So yeah, man, I'm watching him all the time. I'm talking to my coaches about how do you beat somebody like that, and that almost fear he puts into everybody that possibly has to fight him, you know, is something that I'm feeling, and it drives me to work harder.
You are well on your way, my man. I mean,
Thank
do you
you.
do any commentating for mixed martial arts? I mean, get this guy a microphone, you know?
No, not yet.
Doing great, man.
At Walla the Machine, if you want to follow this man, Malcolm Wellmaker, congratulations on a big win. Very much appreciate your time today, sir, and hope to shake your hand at some point before the year is out, brother.
Hopefully soon, man. Thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Great
there
work.
He is, Malcolm Wellmaker, with us live on the Anik Florian podcast. What an absolute stud. And sometimes I sort of want to check the professionalism for a minute and be like, bro, can you imagine being 150 miles from your hometown and landing a shot like that? Even if you're not 150 miles from your hometown, maybe you're in Perth and you do that to someone
right.
in an enclosed space, right? Like, I'm sure it feels great in the NBA to hit a game-winning three-pointer or to hit a shot in the NBA Finals. Or hit a home run. Maybe hitting a home run to win the World Series, but dude, Ken Flo, right? Like,
listen, dude, every other cool thing that you can do in sports is just an analogy for what people actually do in the UFC. Because what you're doing, you dunk over, dude, you're like, I'm better than you. I'm the bigger man right now. In the UFC, you literally are saying you are the better dude by knocking a guy out. You're putting them out. Like, that's what every kind of sports guy probably wants to do. So yeah, just amazing to have that feeling, dude.
So John Jones choking Lyoto Machida unconscious and then just unceremoniously dropping him there for his body to just cripple unconsciously to the ground, right? Who's next?
He imploded a body. He imploded. It just collapsed upon itself. Crazy.
All right. Thanks to Malcolm Wellmaker and the great Ed Cap for assisting us in getting that fine young athlete live on the program today. All right, fellas, you ever lift a little too hard or maybe just forget to apply your daily deodorant? You get hit by a truckload of body odor from all different directions. Does your 3-in-1 shampoo leave you needing a second shower just a few hours after the first? I got to stop showering 3 times a day. Well, I'm going in the right direction because Mando is the real deal. Mando whole body deodorant is helping men conquer their odor in a new way. Formulated with mandelic acid, Mando has long-lasting 72-hour odor control that actually stops odor before it starts. Best part is, though, for me, sweaty guy, as you know, you can put Mando everywhere. Your pits, your packages, your feet, skin folds, your back, your knees, everywhere. And these body deodorant wipes, I'm out right now. That's why they're not sitting right next to me, are an absolute savior for me. I have them with me at all times. I got a pack in my car. The cologne is mint, by the way. Mando's got cologne as well. Clearly created with men in mind. Their best seller is bourbon leather. Can't go wrong if that is the direction in which you go. And right now, as you know, special offer, new customers, $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code and the link. Use code AFPOD at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap. It is America's #1 whole body deodorant. You can find Mando at Walmart and Target, but for the best deal, shopmando.com with code AFPOD. The starter pack, perfect for new customers, comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. You can do the mini body wash, deodorant wipes as well. Free shipping and a special offer for listeners, $5 off your starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack with the code AFPOD at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support the Anik Florian podcast. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. All right. Kenny, have you had your wisdom teeth pulled? You're on mute. Hey, do you still have so you don't still have your wisdom teeth? Do you still have the you're on mute mug I gave you?
I do have it, of course. I don't have it with me, but I do have it.
Cody says that one was on him. He muted you during my commercial spot.
He did. He didn't want to hear me breathing. Sometimes people were complaining about my breathing in the background. Sound like Darth Vader.
Oh, okay. So you've had your wisdom teeth pulled?
Yes.
Is it bad?
It's not great. You know, I don't do well with like the sedation. I get nauseous and I will take anything. Yeah. I'll take pain over nausea. Like just like I'm being on the brink of constantly being like having to throw up or being dizzy.
Right.
I do not like. So that to me is more annoying. The pain's not too bad, you know.
I had an infected fingernail a couple of years ago and they put a numbing agent, like a shot in my finger, and I immediately went to pass out.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So yeah, I feel you on that. But no, I came across this would you rather question. Would you rather get your wisdom teeth pulled or your butt cheeks pierced? And so I figured I would ask someone who had their wisdom teeth pulled, is this some brutal exercise? Because I don't know who's looking to get their butt cheek pierced. I'm not suggesting you pierce it together, but you know.
What are we doing? What are we doing here, guys? Find something else to pierce. There's a bunch of other body parts you could pierce. Why are we doing that?
I once dated a woman, and I broke up with her because she showed up to one of our dates, if memory serves, with 3 bolts pierced to the back of her neck, 3 new neck piercings.
Oh.
And I got to tell you, in 2025, I'm a little bit of a different man. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to see 3 fresh neck piercings on the back of your fucking neck with the red still on there. But I do believe that, you know, in 2025, I think I'm maybe more accepting as far as that is concerned. But the butt cheek piercing, like, I'll get my fucking wisdom teeth out, you know?
For sure.
All right. I have a few other things I would like to discuss with you. So I just want to say, as I often say about Jon Jones, that his graciousness at events like Dirty Boxing and with fans is just amazing. His presence with me in every single one of our conversations is notable and remarkable, which means the ability to remark upon it, right? He is never not present. And I just want people to sort of know that in all the noise and with all the rage that is going on right now, I have just continued to see him do right by fight fans time and time again, even if that doesn't mean competing. So, Kenny, people are so mad about Jon Jones right now.
Yeah.
So they're so mad. And so I just want to set up the timeline just a little bit, right? Because when I get asked hosting a press conference if Jon Jones should be stripped, and I throw out your opinion, which I now share, that the fight between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall is bigger if they are both champions, and it's actually counterintuitive to strip Jon if, in fact, the fight is going to happen in 2025, people get very upset. So Jon Jones beat Dominic Reyes at UFC 247 in 2020. He then didn't fight again until the Ciryl Gane fight, UFC 285, March 4th, 2023, right? Then he tore the pectoral muscle getting ready for Stipe. They waited for that fight. Stipe had a 4-year layoff. UFC 309, Jones versus Miocic in Madison Square Garden last November, right? So Jon Jones competed like 7 months ago, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, right? And again, people are going to hate me regardless. It's okay. He didn't compete all that long ago, right? He competed 7 months ago. Okay.
Right.
So if Jon Jones fights Tom Aspinall in December of this year, then I'm not sure exactly what the expectation was relative to his calendar, and I'm really not sure what the big deal is. Now, the problem is there's not a lot of information, right? Mm-hmm. The point that we're all in accordance on is that Tom Aspinall's next fight will be for the undisputed UFC heavyweight championship, and that needs to happen in 2025. So I believe if it's not going to be that first weekend in December, these two in Las Vegas, then they will strip Jon Jones, and we'll all feel good that Tom's fight is for the undisputed heavyweight championship. But Jon Jones has not been an active competitor over the last 5 years. So the notion that he would take 13 months off after the Stipe fight, in relative terms, is not a lot of time.
Right. And I think for fans, and this, I guess, for anybody, no one likes being in limbo. Nobody likes not knowing exactly how it's all going to go down. And people would prefer to be like, I don't even want the fight to happen anymore. Just stop torturing me. You know, I just want to know when this fight's going to happen. But what it is people are angry, not necessarily at Jon Jones, or maybe perhaps at some, right? Because somebody's just going to be hating on Jon Jones regardless. But they want to see this fight. That's what this means, is they want to see this fight happen. And I think that's where they're coming from more than anything else. I still am optimistic that it will happen. We shall see.
So Tom Aspinall defended his interim championship against Curtis Blades July 2024 at UFC 304. And part of the issue is that now Tom has been training for a year, staying ready, and hasn't had a fight. So forget Jon Jones's calendar for a second. A big part of this issue is that Tommy needs to fight and deserves to fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship, right? I don't know if there is convincing going on or if there's negotiating going on, but my expectation always, after Jon Jones beat Stipe spectacularly, was that the earliest you're getting that fight is a year from now at Madison Square Garden, because Jon Jones is going to enjoy the fruits. And I don't know that he's of a mindset that he's going to stack training camps. It's rest and recovery and recreation. And then, you know, he says he needs 6 months to get back into it, right? And that would mean that if he got back into it right now, then potentially he could fight Tom Aspinall in December. And the optimist in me is still hopeful that that is going to be the course of action. Otherwise, I think you're going to get Ciryl Gane or Alexander Volkov fighting Tom Aspinall. for the undisputed heavyweight championship later this year. And there will be some disappointment there, but I remember a time when, with Ronda Rousey, it was like, man, she's got to fight Cyborg or got to see this. And, so we'll see what happens. But I just want to get that out there because there's just a lot of anger and a lot of heat. And I do think it's not that big a deal if he does fight Tom 13 months after he fought Stipe. All right. Anything else that I need to get to from UFC Fight Night, Usman versus Buckley? The whole main card was decisions, right? And sometimes that can leave people feeling a certain way. The Edmund Shabazian Andre Petroski fight wasn't the fight of the year, but I don't know. I think I'm a little bit too insulated and too embedded at times, but I thought Edmund looked great and, did what he needed to do against that particular stylist and skill set. I know you felt like, or I think it was actually Petrie put his whole stack on Andre Petroski. But what did you think of Edmund, and is there anything else on this fight, Kat, that I'm missing?
This is an Edmund Shabazian that is maturing leaps and bounds now in the UFC. Again, we saw him struggle in the past against guys that have tried to take him down. So what it's telling me is that he's pacing himself a lot better now. He's not just going balls to the wall in round one now, or getting overly excited if he does hurt his opponents. And number two, it's saying that he is working and much more comfortable with his grappling skills. Way better on the sprawl, way better with his defensive wrestling, way better with his ability to get back to his feet and stay calm and not panic and make big mistakes and go from winning the fight to losing the fight in a blink of an eye. So this is, I think, what everyone was hoping for from Shabazian. He's putting it all together, maybe a little bit later than people would have liked, but he's putting it together, and that's a great sign.
Yeah. And you like that haircut, too, with the shaved head. Edmund, let's go.
Yeah.
So, Raoni Barcelos, man, continuing to defy age and odds in a lot of respects, right? Beats Cody Garbrandt after beating Peyton Talbot. I know. Dude. You thought Cody might have.
It was so close.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great fight.
Cody looked great early in that fight. He looked like he was on point. And then something happened. What happened? Raoni Barcelos happened. He just wouldn't go away. And, Cody just started to lose confidence in himself over the course of the fight, I think is what happened. And again, made a little bit of mistake, gave up his back. That kind of got in the back of his head a little bit. It seemed like Cody was back in the fight at times and then kind of checked out a little bit at times. And I don't know. It's like we saw like 3 different Cody Garbrandts throughout that fight. And it is frustrating because, man, is that kid talented. Cody is so damn talented and so dangerous and so physically capable that was a fight that he absolutely, I think, should have won, could have won. I think it was very close. But I have no problem, obviously, with Barcelos getting the win. He did a great job getting him to the ground, getting great position on Cody. He was pressuring late in that fight where Cody was kind of got a little bit too defensive and hesitant. But it's tough to see Cody go that way and lose to guys. Again, Barcelos, very good fighter, but I think Cody should still be an elite bantamweight, and we're just not seeing it.
So I do think that Barcelos, to your point, fought a really prepared, thoughtful Cody Garbrandt, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Cody spins this forward, because I do think in a lot of respects mentally he's in a really good place, and just a little bit short against Raoni Barcelos, who wins by unanimous decision. Did you see the aforementioned Peruvian flyweight Jose Ochoa against Cody?
I did not, dude.
Okay.
I did not.
So you will. And I don't know if you heard me mention the word bravery earlier. You probably did if you were listening to the podcast that you co-host, right? If you didn't hear me use the word bravery earlier, that would probably be super disrespectful. But what are your thoughts on that? Because there are plenty of fighters who are down 2-0 in a third and final round and aren't willing to stare into the fire and get knocked out.
Yep.
And Jose Ochoa, part of the reason why he won a $50,000 bonus and is a flyweight force to be reckoned with is because he was brave enough to sort of enter the pocket. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I think, was the guy who used the word. I just am curious about your thoughts on sort of bravery in combat sports.
It is everything. I use this analogy all the time with my students, and I talk about like the skill aspect of it, where you have this very sharp samurai blade, And you can have the sharpest blade in the world, but if you don't have the courage and commitment to swing that thing with everything you have, then the blade is useless. And vice versa. If you have the courage or you have the bravery to be able to swing it, but your blade is not tremendously sharp, then that is also useless. You need to be able to combine those things together. And, you know, it takes a lot to go out there and compete in front of millions of people, let alone fight some of the best fighters in the world. And it's so easy to kind of doubt yourself at times when things aren't going well. And to see a guy, especially, you know, a Peruvian fighter, go out there with bravery and say, you know, things aren't going my way right now, but I'm going to make it my way. I'm going to find a way. And to have that courage and go, I'm not going out like this, is what is the mark of a fighter, and which fans can always appreciate. So it seems like I did not see it. I know the summary, he came back to win, which is awesome against a tough guy in Cody Durden, by the way. So that's always great to see, man.
Yeah, I think he could be a real force. We'll see what happens. Congrats also to Ricky Simone getting it done against Cameron Smotherman. Phil Rowe with an outstanding knockout. The uppercuts and the clinches. He rallies to beat Ange Losa. An outstanding result. Congrats to the Ultimate Fighter Live's Michael Chiesa getting it done against Court McGee. Mansour Abdul Malik. I don't know if you saw the headbutt, Kenny, at the end of this fight. So he beats Cody Brundage by technical decision. So at the 36-second mark of round 3, there's a headbutt, and it was a pretty bad one. So they go to the scorecards and had the rightful winner, Mansour Abdul Malik. Really nice to see Brundage just going for it late. You know, it's a pretty crazy fight, given as long as it lasted. Unfortunate end to that one, kid.
Yeah, started a little bit slow. It seemed like both guys were a little bit hesitant and respectful of each other's power. Things started to pick up a little bit. They had their flurries, which started to get me excited. And then in round 3, things got really exciting. I don't think it was an intentional headbutt. I think what it was for Malik was he was ducking down. He was like, as he was entering, it seemed like he was ducking his head down to avoid an uppercut or a strike from Brundage. And in doing so, slammed his head, unfortunately, into the head of Brundage, which hurt him. So, yeah, you know, tough spot there. You know, when things were heating up like that, you don't want to see a fight end with something like that. But you know, and for Malik, I think he's going to learn a lot from that fight. Brundage came to fight. He was not going away easily. And, you know, I think that's a good fight for a young, talented fighter like Malik to learn from.
All right, bonus winners, Kamaru Usman, Joaquin Buckley, your fight of the night. Performance bonuses, Malcolm Wellmaker, of course, and Jose Ochoa. All right, so I'm wearing my Kayla Harrison t-shirt today, and I was going to book her on the show. And as I was going through the thought process, Kenny, we're going to have her on the program. But in terms of the conversation about bantamweight and the weight, until I can figure out how I'm going to probe her, you know, I didn't necessarily want to have her on the program, because my thesis statement largely on it is that anything other than one more cut to 135 pounds just makes no sense for her long-term health. But I understand why for Amanda Nunes, having her cut one more time competitively, it makes sense. We're going to go right back to the guest line, though, right now, because joining us live on the Anik Florian podcast is the most underrated chief corner in the history of the UFC. He was on the top of the podium this weekend, if you're paying attention. Owner, operator, Florian Martial Arts Center, our good friend, Ken Flo's brother and right-hand man, Keith Florian, back on the program. Good to see you, handsome. How we doing?
John, what's going on, man? How are you? Thanks so much for having me on. What's up, Kenny?
Hey, what a surprise. I didn't know this. That's funny.
So when was the last time you guys saw each other? I think you might see each other soon here, but when was the last time you guys saw each other?
A couple days ago.
We actually saw each other. Yeah, earlier this week.
I had to stop.
Stop by real quick.
Back from Istanbul, I had a little stop in Boston, so I stayed the night at Keith's place, and then he took me to the airport and took off. Yeah.
So before we get to maybe more serious matters, congratulations. I mean, you entered the tournament, top of the podium. So how was that tournament this weekend? It's always nice to see you on the Jumbotron there with that, you know, medal around your neck.
Thank you so much, John. Yeah, it was a tough tournament. I competed in the World League. It was a 4-man bracket. And, you know, luckily my style matched up well against my opponents, and I was able to pull off the wins.
Had some messed up ribs there, Johnny, too.
That's right. Oh man, last week we had a stellar jiu-jitsu fighter, Valor Boyer, around for the week, and he did a seminar for us. And so, I hadn't met him during the week when he was there training with the guys, and they're like, Keith, you got to go train with him. You got to go okay. Texted him, met him on Friday at noon. Nobody in the academy, just us two, where we get right into it. First round goes great. Second round, he's attempting to take my back, kind of stretches me out, and being 46 years old and not warmed up properly, my rib pops. And I'm just like sitting there like, oh my God, like, okay, stop. I'm good. And meanwhile, he probably thinks I'm a wuss, like, I got his back and now he taps, now his rib hurts. Right. But really, I really injured my rib. And I didn't even train for like 4 or 5 days. And I was honestly contemplating not even competing at all. But I, kind of was thinking I trained too hard. Let me just at least give it a shot. Don't go on your back by any means possible. Try to play the top game. And, I lucked out.
Good for you, bro. Well, it's great to see you. There are a couple things that I was curious to ask you about. I did notice on your Instagram that I don't know if you're doing some mixed martial arts analytics, but you have been asked about fights recently. I'm curious, like, what your UFC viewing habits are these days and how many of these big fights you're actually able to ingest.
Unfortunately, it is a little bit limited these days. I have so much going on. I don't know if you know, John, I literally run like 4 different businesses at this point. I'm heavy into real estate, heavy into the guys at the Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Finding a spare moment is very difficult. But when there is a big fight, I'll catch it kind of the next day or highlights and try my best to keep updated. But I would say I'm more towards like gi jiu-jitsu or no gi jiu-jitsu at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a long conversation about the evolution of jiu-jitsu and sort of the competitive nature and all the different people trying to enter the space. But in terms of the UFC, and, we just saw Merab Dvalishvili, a guy who historically has had a lot of decisions, go out and finish Sean O'Malley with a submission. And Kenny and I have probably spent about 20 hours over the last 10 years on this podcast talking about high-level fighters maybe not having a signature choke or having a way to put other athletes away once they get them on the ground. I'm talking about control guys, maybe with respect, like Kamaru Usman or Belal Muhammad. And I don't know. I'm just an amateur. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about half the time, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on this sort of thesis statement of mine that, like, if you're a control guy, why not do what Daniel Cormier did? Solicit Kenny Florian's advice, get a signature rear naked choke so that when you take down Anthony Rumble Johnson, the fight's over. You don't have to do it again for 5 rounds.
Right. I mean, it can absolutely be an amazing thing to have, a rear naked choke like Kenny had, but it could also be a crutch, in my opinion, because they know that just to fight that one thing, and it can be difficult to then combat that. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to that, having a rear naked choke, having a, amazing triangle to armbar, having some type of submission in there, that everybody knows once they get it, the fight's over.
Keith, it's crazy to see how mixed martial arts has evolved over the years. Obviously, there's just so many more gyms, so many more fighters, so many more fights and experience to gain from. But I guess going back, like, and you still work with mixed martial arts guys, obviously at Florida Martial Arts Center, but what do you think is the most difficult thing as far as like planning for a fight or preparing a fighter to get to that next level?
Wow. That's a tough question. I mean, yeah, but I mean, preparing them, cardiovascular wise, I think is a massive step towards preparing somebody. And I think that I don't know if it's negated a lot or neglected, but the mental aspect, I think, is one of the biggest aspects of mixed martial arts and preventing some people from taking it to the next level. It always amazes me when people are able to, talk trash and then back it up, because it's an immense amount of pressure. It's an immense amount of weight on their shoulders before going into the ring. And I mean, if you just think about it, you're going to go into a ring with 20,000 people, millions of people watching you on TV, and you're going to go one-on-one with somebody and fight them in a cage. It just baffles the mind, I think, when explaining that to a normal person. You know, it's unbelievable that mental stress that somebody has to take on. And I mean, frankly, I've never met somebody like Kenny. I've never met somebody like, very, very few people have that can just take on that stress and be able to shine under those lights. It is unbelievable.
So we talk a lot about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as the gentle art, right? Yet there's nothing really inherently gentle about it. And, you know, I mean, it seems like you just fucking popped a rib, right? So like at my age, about to be 47. So playing basketball comes with risk, right? Doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu comes with risk that maybe I'm going to be a fat fuck on TV because I'm not going to be able to do any strength and conditioning or running for 6 weeks because I get injured doing one of those sports, right? Or maybe I'll have to eat like grilled chicken and broccoli for 6 weeks, right? I know that's not an issue for you, but like, bro, what would you say to people, right? It might be the best thing for me in terms of my mentality, my spiritual well-being, all these things. But bro, like, for me, it seems like a major injury waiting to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, you have to weigh those risks. You know, training with people who are able to, you know, watch out for certain types of, you know, locks and have the control when they're hitting a triangle or taking your back, and not stretching you in certain areas. That's key. You know, I have a guy who literally just started with me a year and a half ago, and he started at 60 years old.
Wow.
I mean, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And he stuck with it. He's still doing privates with me. He does go to the gym, but it's not as much. You know, I always tell him, watch who you're rolling with. Make sure you know, give me a look like, is this guy good? You know, to roll with, you know, and because the whole thing is just not getting injured so you can be consistent.
Yeah, right. When I was at American Top Team West Palm Beach, I think I did 5 classes, but you know, I was some brown belt, you know, I'm doing a fucking Kimura sweep, and the look of disappointment when I didn't post going through the Kimura sweep, I'm like, bro, I need a fucking notebook. It's like, you got 7 different things I got to do to execute this Kimura sweep, and it's my 3rd day, right? I'm going to take my gi, I'm going to use it to wipe my white belt tears on the way home, and I'm never coming back, you know, and that's kind of how it went down. So before I let you go, you know, we bring up your name a lot. You're my favorite chief corner in UFC history. I just feel like you were so underrated. Seriously, though, like so underrated. And, you know, maybe, yeah, it's because Kenny largely was your focus and you didn't corner a ton of UFC fighters. But, you know, we have sort of talked a lot about those 2 weight cuts for Diego Nunes and Jose Aldo. And I think for a lot of us in Kenny's life, we remember exactly where we were the day he was cutting weight for Nunes because we were afraid. What do you remember about that particular day in your life?
Well, I remember that cut being crazy. I if I remember correctly, that was the first fight at 45. There was a lot of unknowns. I remember trying my best to help, like, be there with him and kind of suffer with him in the sauna. But I remember one time where at the end, when we were just getting to the end of the of like 47, 46 at the weight cut, and I literally had to, like, it was like WWE where I came out of the sauna, slapped hands with somebody, and then somebody else had to come in for the sauna because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was ridiculous. And Kenny was in there just like I can do it. I can do it. Like, what a beast. It was insane. It was insane.
He's an absolute beast. And so are you. Great to see you. I just want to surprise you, bro. I know you guys are going to see each other shortly. On the way out, 2 quick questions. Would you get a hair transplant? And I'm sorry for putting you on the
spot. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? It just cut out just a little bit.
Would you be willing to go to Turkey to get a hair transplant? And I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
I might have to in about 5 years.
Nah, David like me. All right, last question, right? We ask Ray Longo a lot of these would you rather questions, but I wanted to ask a jiu-jitsu practitioner this one. Would you, and I think I know the answer, would you rather be physically stronger than most people in the world or be able to fly?
Ooh, I think fly.
Yeah. All right. Well,
like to
we
fly.
love you, Keith Florian. Florian, if you want more from this guy. And I guess in the greater Boston area, we got a real estate empire going on. If people have real estate needs, they can come at you. Is that the deal?
100%, man. We're doing a new development here in Newton. It's gonna take probably gonna be in like the first quarter of 2026. Just got torn down. We're digging out the foundation. Footings are going in this week, and pouring foundation next week.
How about that? All right, buddy. Well, I'm back in New England, actually, so I will come to the Florian Martial Arts Center at some point in time, and maybe, just maybe, I'm going to put that gi on, and we'll see.
Yeah, let's go.
Professor can
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
All right, buddy. Thank you
Thank
for,
you.
I know you have a busy Monday. Thank you for squeezing us in. It's great to see you. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Thank you so much, man. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
There he is. Keith Florian with us on the Anik and Florian podcast. Get it done for the Florian Martial Arts Center all day, you know? I mean, they launched the school, and, you know, Ken Flo, fucking TV, film career, goes to LA, fucking later, you know. What a stud, that Keith Florian.
Oh, man.
Stud.
That was a surprise. That was cool.
Yeah. You can go big on Brian Petrie if you like for the pronunciation of the week. I always like his candor. The pronunciation of the week is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Get unlimited data that won't slow you down. What's up, BP?
What's going on? Hey, that was great with Keith Florian, man. I've never heard a corner cut through like Keith Florian. You knew when Kenny was fighting because Keith, his voice cut through, man. It was beautiful. That was awesome to see.
Yeah. Nice way of saying he's got that high pitch and he don't give a rip. What
He does. It cut through, man.
Bro, you're looking sunsplashed, buddy, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. I went, well, you know, I got back from the beach, and then, you know, my job is outside. So if I get a little base, then it develops. But like I said, I'm Garfield. I'm an Inora cat. I'm watching fights all day, so I don't get a ton of sun.
Would you rather be someone's pet goldfish or a wild lizard?
Wild lizard, because goldfish.
Yeah, I
have,
mean,
like,
is that
memory.
a trick question?
Yeah.
You want to be in a fucking
no,
bowl
yeah,
and lose your memory
yeah, right.
every
And
3
goldfish,
seconds?
exactly. Yeah, lizard.
I mean,
I just
I'll
don't
take
like
my
the outdoors
chances.
that much.
Right, I know. I'll take my fucking
Yeah.
chances as
Sure.
a wild lizard. Ken Flo's obviously going to be a wild lizard. I didn't ask him. You're going to be stuck in a bowl.
Absolutely,
Maybe try to
sure.
swim your way out. All right. So we have featured both of these files on the pronunciation of the week before, right? So the first one, I just don't understand why people won't just fall in line when it comes to pronouncing this name. So this man has risen to become one of the best lightweights in the world, Kenny, despite not being ranked at present. He represents Chile, nicknames La Jaula and Nacho. Ken Flo, care to have a gander as to how this man pronounces his name?
Yeah, Ignacio Bahamondes.
God,
Bahamondes.
if you don't stop showing off, we're going to give the segment back to Brian.
Yeah.
Brian, care to pronounce Nacho's name for us?
Yeah, I mean, I've done this bit before, but it's the sexiest name in the UFC. It's Ignacio Bahamondes. I mean, it's sexy.
Right. I mean, circle doesn't the square because you put that H in there. So the whole thing we're trying to do is we're not pronouncing the H. So let's hear Nacho if we could, Code Blue.
Ignacio La Jaula Bahamondes. Ignacio La Jaula Bahamondes.
I mean, man, we appreciate the thoughtfulness, but Nacho, we do not have all day.
Took his time.
Bahamondes, yeah. So we're dropping the H there. And then the second one just makes me laugh. I mean, this is incredible. If you're watching on the DraftKings YouTube channel, his first name is spelled Myktybek. And the last time he fought epically, he fought a guy by the name of Mateusz Raumbecki, who's been featured on the pronunciation of the week before. So, Ken Flo, you're seeing the name on the bottom of your screen. How do you pronounce that name?
Myktybek Orolbai. Miktabek Orolbai.
Gosh, man, this
Maybe.
kid is so good.
Did I
You're
get
going to
it?
lose the segment. It's very close. No, I think you're off slightly. I mean,
Little off.
nailed
Okay.
the syllabic emphasis, but I don't know
Okay.
if I think it's muck, like you're stuck in
Oh.
the fucking muck. BP, we love you. We don't need an attempt from you on this one.
Thank you.
We're just going to listen to the man and the Kazakhstan say his own name. Go ahead, Code.
That's Canada.
My name is Miktabek Orolbai. My name is Miktabek Orolbai.
Muktabek. Ah, interesting.
He could have said his name 30 times in the time it took Nacho to say his name. Muktabek Orolbai, man. There are easier names than that. That's it for the pronunciation of the week. All right, this weekend, the hits keep on coming. Baku, Azerbaijan, as we get to the main event challenge. All main card predictions coming to you today live on the Anik Florian podcast, but a few preliminary notes quickly if I could. So at a nice exchange with Oban Elliott this morning. He will be on with us next week should he get past the Korean Tyson Sukhyun Ko. That is now the featured preliminary bout. And I also wondered, Bri, you think Kamaru Usman is now going to Baku, Azerbaijan, because his brother Mohammed Usman is fighting this weekend?
I think, for sure.
Yeah, 100%, right?
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Wheels up. Yep. I think he'll be in the corner. All right. UFC Fight Night, Hill versus Rountree Jr. live on ABC. Bri, we start with a featherweight main card offering. Tajikistan's Muhammad Naimov, minus 218, taking on Bogdan the Unleashed Grad, who is plus 180. Hillman Naimov, 4-1 in the UFC, taking on Grad, who was born in Romania, now fights out of Austria. Grad's won 4 in a row. He was bonus for a knockout of Lucas Alexander in his UFC debut back in February. Sneaky good fight here, Bri, to kick off the main card. Which way you going?
Yeah, real good friend. Naimov, excuse me. Naimov, how you say it, John? Give me one more time.
Not like either of those, my man.
Naimov. He's been around for a while, right? He looks, and he's a powerhouse. He also knows how to grapple a little bit. Big power in the arms. But Grad, I think, has better. Admittedly, I think he has better takedowns, and I think he can stop his takedowns. I think the stand up is might not be a watch because Naimov, I can't say his fucking name. What am I having a problem here? Grad wins the fight, guys. I like the underdog here at plus 180. I think he's going to stand up with him. I think he's going to piece him up. I like his kicks. I like his takedowns as well. He's well-rounded. He has some good finishes on there. And I like Grad. Give me Grad. Give me the underdog plus 180. Let's go.
Nicely done on the handicap. And I'll help you out a little bit. Yeah, get a pull of water. Get a fucking pull of water. Naimov.
There you go.
Naimov.
Never pronounce it right again, probably.
No, you'll absolutely nail it. Ken Flo, Grad was knocked out by Big Train Tom Nolan on Dana White's Contender Series back in 2023. Worked his way back to that show, eventually the big show. And a pretty good test for him here as the underdog against Muhammad Naimov. How do you see it playing out?
This is a tough one for me. I think Naimov obviously has more experience in the UFC, but it's actually Grad who actually has more fights overall. But Grad is tough, man. He's really good everywhere. I think he might be the more precise grappler on the ground. Naimov may have the edge when it comes to the takedown skills. I also think Naimov is going to be a little bit faster, but Bogdan hits harder. So a lot of different ways that this fight can play out. I'm going to go the way of Naimov just because of his experience in the UFC. He's fought some tough guys already. He's proven himself as a fighter. Grad, I can definitely see winning this fight, but just based on their past history, I'm going to lean the way of Naimov.
All right, next up on the main card on what is a big night in the men's lightweight division, Nazim Sadikov, minus 455, taking on Nicholas Mota, who is plus 350. Ray Longo's wheels up to Azerbaijan. Team Sarah Longo's fighter, still undefeated in the UFC. He finished Ismail Bonfim earlier this year, and now spinning it forward against Mota, who Longo did call basic, but basic has worked, right? Tough UFC start. He's now won 2 in a row. What are your thoughts on the price? And ultimately, we'll need a pick.
Yeah, Mota's powerful, especially in the pocket. So if you exchange with him, he is kind of kill or be killed because he's been knocked out before. But if he lands on you, it's a good chance it's going to hurt you or maybe even put you down. But I'm a Nas guy, man. I think Nas is a special fighter. I think he's really good, really well-rounded. We've seen that in the Terrence McKinney fight. Took him down, took his back, choked him out. He's also coming off a really big knockout win over one of the Bonfim brothers. Nas, I wish we were getting a better price here at minus 455. I agree with the line. I think Nas is prime and he's getting priced right. I just wish as a selfish gambler where you're getting a better price. I like Nas. I like Nas by finish big here. It's a good spot for him right now. I think he's going to show out. This is he called for this spot on this card. I think they could have fed him anybody. But after he gets past Moda, no disrespect to Moda here, but after he gets past Moda, or if he gets past Moda, I think we're getting big fights now for Nas because I think he's that good.
Odds makers agree. Minus 455 against Moda, who comes back plus 350. Ken Flo, your thoughts?
I think this is pretty straightforward. I think Sadikov is the more technical fighter overall. I think that he's the better striker. I think we should see this fight play out mostly on the feet. But even when it comes to the wrestling game, I think he should be the better wrestler there too. Positionally, though, he's got to be careful with Mota on the ground. I think Mota's probably going to have the better submission game. However, as long as Sadikov does not decide to take the hardest route to victory and just start brawling, I think this is a pretty clear win for Nas. Now, but we have seen him play into that hand a little bit. So he's not afraid to go in there and throw down. You do not want to do that against someone like Mota, though, who does throw very hard. The guy has 10 knockouts. And maybe not the most technical guy, but he's got power and speed, so he's got to watch out for that. But give me Naz.
All right, next up at lightweight, and I believe I misspoke earlier. Muktabek Orolbai is Kyrgyzstan and not Kazakhstan, so I beg your pardon. No line on his fight here against Tafik Musayev. UFC debut for Azerbaijan's Musayev. He has 27 pro MMA fights, though. 122 of them, 18 by knockout. Bri, biggest win came against Patricky Pitbull. He beat him and Johnny Case on the same night, actually. And now he draws Orolbai, the 27-year-old out of Kyrgyzstan, who figures to be the betting favorite here, but no line as yet on DraftKings Sportsbook. BP, go ahead.
Yeah, Musayev is a stud. This is a banger of a fight, by the way. For people who don't know, I don't want to steal Dana White's thing. Now you know. This is going to be a banger. Musayev, former champion of Risen, and Risen is a real deal promotion. The lighter weight guys, I know he's 55, he's not the smallest guy in the world. The lighter weight guys that come from Risen are usually electric. And this guy's tape, he puts it on people. Like Darren Cruikshank is a very good striker, fought in the UFC, was on the Ultimate Fighter Live. Really great fight with him. Patricky Pitbull was an absolute war. This guy can grapple a little bit, and he's got big power, great chin, good cardio. Orolbai, this guy's coming off. I mean, he got his face rearranged by Roundbecky, but never quit, kept pushing forward. The guy's got an iron will and an iron chin and almost won the fight. It was a split decision loss for him. He's special. He's a young guy. He's 27 years old. I think he's got some good grappling. I think Musayev's got good grappling when he's on top. He likes to ground and pound. But when he's on his back, he's giving up a lot of submissions on his name. His losses, a lot of them come by submissions. Orolbai isn't like world-class with submissions. He's got a couple in his game. But I think if Orolbai gets him down, I think we're looking at a good victory here. But I see this fight being an absolute banger. I price Orolbai. I know we don't have a line on him. I price him maybe at like 170, minus 170, minus 150. I think that's a good price because he's got the UFC veteran status to him. Give me Orolbai. I flip back and forth on this, but give me Orolbai.
Ken Flo, Orolbai returning, as Brian mentioned, after that absolutely epic fight with Mateusz Roumbetsky. That was last October, UFC 308. How do you see him doing here against Musayev?
Yeah, just crazy fight, crazy heart shown in that fight against Roumbetsky. I think that he's going to be down on speed here in this fight against Musayev, who is extremely fast, especially with those kicks to the head. So he's going to have to mind his P's and Q's there. However, how do you doubt the durability and heart after seeing Orolbai go 3 hard rounds against Mateusz Roumbetsky? So I'm going to go with Orolbai. I think if he can get it done with his wrestling, I agree, Brian. I think he should put Musayev on his back. I think that's his easiest path to victory, but he can strike as well, especially if he loosens up with his strikes a little bit. Sometimes he's a little bit too tight, which takes away from his speed. Yeah, I think he's got to mix in those strikes and hit those takedowns against Musayev. If he's able to do that, I think he wins this one.
All right, moving on to the heavyweight division. Curtis Blades, minus 290. Rizvan Kuniev, plus 235. So, Bryce, some dates for you. February 22nd, March 8th, May 17th. Finally, it shall be done, June 21st. Fourth booking between these two heavyweights. Initially delayed a couple weeks, then Blades fell ill. Then it was postponed again. And now it'll be Baku. Blades putting his top 5 ranking on the line against the UFC newcomer and 2-time Contender Series veteran Rizvan Kuniev out of Makhachkala, Russia. BP, who do you have in this one?
No disrespect to Cunha, but with the lack of ego on Curtis Blades to accept this fight, right? A UFC newcomer. Curtis Blades has been around forever. He's fought everyone. I know he has a couple losses, but like lack of ego, like fuck it. If they're giving me this guy 3 times now, let's do it. I'll fight anybody. I love the mindset with Curtis Blades. So that means to me, he's not overlooking this guy. Because Cunha's biggest win is when he pissed hot. So he got taken away. He's got 2 Contender Series victories. They passed on the first time, which was a lackluster performance. Then he got a good finish, but both those guys haven't won a fight since the Contender Series. So the quality of wins there, what are they? You know, Kuniev, again, 6'4", good striker, likes to play on the ground as well. He's got some good chokes, but Curtis Blades is a big boy. He's fast on the feet, and he only loses to the elite guys with big power. I don't know if Kuniev can one-touch Curtis Blades. I could be wrong. They're big guys. We can see what happens. But also Curtis Blades' athleticism and his wrestling, I think, are to really show, there's levels to this game, right? We say that a lot. I think this is a big levels fight here. Give me Curtis Blades. I think he can maybe get a finish. I don't know if I'll play that yet unless it's very juicy, unless we're getting like 6-1. But Curtis Blades by decision is also a good bet here. But I think he's going to lean on his wrestling and his overall athleticism. And Curtis can strike too. And I've seen the guy in person, and he's fucking enormous. So huge. Curtis Razor Blades. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Ken Flo, not the first time you guys have picked this fight. Blades hasn't fought since the loss to Tommy Aspinall 11 months ago at UFC 304. 13-5 for Blades with a no contest in the UFC as he arrives at his 20th UFC appearance here against Rizvan Kuniev.
Yeah, I've seen Kuniev. Had a chance to interview him when he fought over in the PFL. Had a chance to call his fight. Fought a very tough guy in Renan Ferreira, and he looked pretty good in that fight. I just don't think his grappling and striking, though, is going to be up to par with someone like Curtis Blades. I don't see him being a big-time threat when it comes to the takedown game. I think Blades has him on the wrestling there. So in regards to the striking, yeah, they're 2 big guys, heavyweights. You land a good shot. Kuniev could hurt Blades, certainly. But I think Blades is going to be the more technical striker here. As long as Blades is coming into this fight respecting Kuniev, I think he wins this fight and probably wins this fight pretty easily. So give me Curtis Blades.
All right, now to the co-main event in the lightweight division. Ignacio Bahamondes, -112, taking on Rafael Fiziev, who is -108. So Nacho, close friend of the show, our team, Ken Flo, and everybody else has spent a lot of time around this man. And the only time I ever worked Dana White's Contender Series in November of 2020, he competed and won. So I've essentially been tracking this kid's every move for 5 years. And now Bri on the cusp of potential greatness in the lightweight division. Should he get past the credentialed number 11 ranked Rafael Fiziev? Who do you like in the co-main, BP?
Striker's delight here. Fiziev is literally might be like a perfect striker, right? The only thing that plagues him, he doesn't really have length, right? But his leg kicks, his, bringing his hands back, right? And then also unpredictability. His spins are really dynamic and he doesn't telegraph them. Like, he's a special dude. And he also can grapple a little bit. He's that short, stocky build that can mix in some takedowns. And that's where I think he could give Bahamondes problems, right? Is Bahamondes has gotten taken down by guys like Ludwig Klein before, but he's worked on it. And I love the gym that he's at with those absolute dogs in Chicago. Being very overlooked in Chicago. Those Chicago guys, they're coming in fearless, which you guys talked about earlier, because Bahamondes goes for it, right? He uses his length really well. He's tough as shit. He's getting better as he goes, and the cardio is going to be there for days. Bahamondes is going in there knowing I'm going against a good striker. I'm going to leave bloody, and he encourages that. He welcomes that, and I love that about this kid. And I'm not just saying this because he's close with Bilal and all this stuff with the podcast. I've been on this guy from day one. I lost some money on him with the McDessie fight, and he has won it back 4 times over. I just think the length of him in the willingness to exchange is going to be special because even though, he's fighting up a guy who maybe has a little more experience, has fought Justin Gaethje twice and has some really good wins and really good records. Bahamondes is on that cusp, and I think he's going to get over this hill here. I think he's going to win. I think it's going to be a phenomenal fight. I like the over as well. I don't think either guy's going to finish. I think it's going to be a striker's delight, and I cannot fucking wait.
Ken Flo, last win for Rafael Fiziev 3 years ago. The knockout of Rafael dos Anjos. Injuries have been a part of that, of course, but Bahamondes with the momentum, to be sure. Right, Manuel Torres at Sphere, Jalen Turner by submission, UFC 313. 3 straight performance of the night bonuses, earning him this fight against Rafael Fiziev. Fascinated to see on which side you fall. Ken Flo, go ahead.
That's right. You know, the thing that I look the most at are the last 4 fights. And it's interesting that the UFC is matching these guys together. You have Fiziev 1-3 in the last 4 fights on a bit of a losing streak here. And Bahamondes, of course, 3-1 in the last 4 fights. So absolutely, Ignacio has more momentum heading into this fight. But make no mistake about this. This is a very dangerous fight for him. Why? Fiziev is a tremendous striker. He's very dangerous. He's got nothing to lose, I think, heading into this fight in a lot of ways. But can his lack of size, be a factor in this fight? I think it can. I think for Bahamondes, I think he's got to keep Fiziev on the outside. And when they are on the inside, that's where I think Bahamondes maybe can mix things up with his grappling. I think he's going to have a huge advantage, especially if he's able to get this fight to hit the ground. Fiziev is not an easy guy to take down, but if he's able to take him down and get position, get on top, I think that's where Ignacio really can take over. And we saw him, be extremely dangerous off of his back as well. So I think as far as, potency of submissions, Bahamondes has him there. When it comes to striking, I think Fiziev is maybe a little bit more dangerous when it comes to knockout power. But can Bahamondes knock him out? Yes, he can. His length, his size, his versatility, his toughness, I think will make up for maybe a lack of physical advantage against Fiziev. So give me the momentum and size and overall versatility of Bahamondes.
All right, well done, kid. That brings us to the light heavyweight main event. We'll go right back to you, Ken Flo, to lead us off on this one. Khalil Rountree Jr., -162. Jamahal Sweet Dreams Hill is +136. So been a tough winless couple of years for Jamahal Hill since he won the light heavyweight title. That was in January of 2023 against Glover Teixeira. This fight, of course, was going to be the main event, Kenny, in Kansas City back in April. But Hill was forced to withdraw, rebooked in Baku. Who do you like, Ken Flo? Rountree Jr., the favorite, or Jamahal Hill, the dog?
I think this is going to be another exciting fight. And you got to wonder, what kind of confidence that did for Rountree, coming off of his last fight against Pereira. I think that he gained a lot of confidence from that fight despite getting the loss. I think he had 2 really good rounds against one of the most dominant strikers in light heavyweight UFC history. And I think that will carry with him here into this fight against Jamahal Hill, who also is very dangerous, but not as versatile as someone like Pereira. I think Hill has knockout power. He's got speed. He has very good timing as well. But I think his big crutch for him is going to be his footwork, his stance heading into this fight. Rountree is so good at chopping those legs down and landing with combinations now. Rountree used to have a lack of confidence when it came to putting punches together. He would only kind of do that when he'd get you hurt, but now he's not afraid to put together 2, 3, 4, 5 strike combinations and then get out. He's shown a lot more intelligence when he goes out there to compete. And I think we're going to see an even better version of Khalil Rountree in here. And, coming back from a surgery like Jamahal Hill has come back from, some guys are never the same. We've seen a lot of guys, whether it's basketball, football, come back from, Achilles tears. And it's not an easy one to come back from. It leads to a lot of other problems as well. So I think for Jamahal, it's tough to improve your footwork overnight. I think Jamahal still has a lot of upside. I think there's a lot of stuff he can gain from the fight. He's getting better overall as a fighter, but I just think Khalil has improved that much more. And I think it's Rountree's fight to lose. So give me Khalil Rountree. Pretty confident on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just fans that were accrued by Khalil Rountree Jr. in going toe-to-toe with Alex Pineda last October at UFC 307. It's all the confidence, and you just feel like, Bri, he's going to be a particularly hard man and harder man to beat now going forward. Jamahal Hill's an outstanding athlete. He's been there. He's done that. We'll see the form in which he shows up in Baku. We'd like a main event prediction, BP. Who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, that's why Kennedy's the best. He's tough to follow. He hit all the points I want to hit on. I mean, from Rountree, from the Ultimate Fighter to now is a different fighter. I mean, you watched the Marcin Practical fight where he was the favorite, where he should have won. He just shut himself down. That's a fight that's a winnable fight against a striker who had been knocked up at that point. And now the big win streak, the mean streak, and then going in against Poatan and not getting slept and dropping Poatan and just really be able to trust his chin and his cardio and his body and everything holding up, that's got to be a big boost. And then Jamahal Hill coming off one of his worst performances, in my opinion. You know, he was crossing his legs a lot when he was boxing and squaring up. That's like day one stuff that they don't want you to do. He was getting off balance. I know he's fighting Yuri, who's kind of awkward, but it made him look really awkward as well. I was really surprised by that performance because I love Sweet Jim. I think Jamahal Hill's a legit dude. He's got that long range. He's got a big heart. You know, he got dropped in a few times that fight, didn't want to give up. And he still has power. Those long range weapons he put in, his accuracy used to be deadly. We'll see if the accuracy can come back on Khalil, but Khalil has really good defense, and those leg kicks are absolute money. I was there in Atlanta where he beat up Eric Anders, your boy, and those leg kicks were the loudest I've ever heard. I've never been to an Apex card, but a full arena with baseball bats to the legs and the body, I'm like, whoa. It was crazy, and now he's really coming into his own and believing in himself, and that's a lot. You know, that's a lot in MMA. I'm all over Rountree as well. I wanted to get there in Jamahal Hill, former champion, plus money. We're looking good here. I need the dogs. You know, I want to make money, and I like picking the plus money guys. But I just think it's Rountree's time here. I think the loss, the championship loss, did more for him than hurt him. And he's recovered. He's healthy. And I saw him on social media. He looks, I mean, he's always in great shape, but he looks absolutely just dense and shredded. And I'm excited for this fight. This is going to be a really fun one. But yeah, give me Rountree.
All right, fellas, always appreciate the early week handicap. We'll continue to monitor the lines on the DraftKings Sportsbook as we inch closer to fight time. But it is now time to put your money where your mouth is. I actually one time contemplated starting a clothing company called Money Mouth Clothing Company, but it didn't happen. Anyway, Place Your Bets is brought to you by JonAnik.com, where you can get all sorts of merchandise to support the Anik and Florian podcast. Promo code One More Sleep. All right, so Petrie falls back to minus 12,000 and change. You had $1,000 on Andre Petrosky. That failed to cash. Florian also gives back a dime. You lost both of your straight bets on Cody Garbrandt and Miranda Maverick. Close fights, though. So Florian's still in the black, plus $3,200 and change. You guys got $1,000 to spend here. UFC Fight Night, Hill v. Rountree Jr. BP. How are we spending our 1,000 American dollars?
So, you know, I got the money hat on today. I haven't worn it in a little bit, and I kind of went into a Zen mode. I started listening to some Phil Ivey quotes. You know, Phil Ivey's not a sports gambler. You don't think about the money. You don't think about the money, right? Just think about your plays. So the money's out of my head. Give me a $500 parlay, Johnny, on Nas and Blades. That is on currently on DraftKings. You get it right now. That's minus 156 with those two together, two-legger. That's $500, right? Okay. And then don't sue me, John, but
send them home early.
I'm gonna send them home early. I'm gonna get Nas by KO as well. That the prop's not out yet. I'll get that to you, but that's gonna be $250.
Okay.
And then give me Grod as a dog shot here at plus 180 for another $250. Spreading out.
Nicely done, Bri. We like the spread there. Yeah. Ken Flo, you got the lead. You got $1,000 to spend. Which direction you going in, kid?
Okay, I'm gonna keep it simple, bro. I'm gonna go with 1,000 on Khalil Rountree.
Smart.
Feeling confident, Johnny.
I love that.
Kind of felt like you might go in that direction. Minus 162 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, and you'll get plenty more mixed martial arts analysis later in the week from Brian Petrie on the MMA Takes podcast. His nickname's Big Gun, at Brian Petrie MMA on X, my man. Have a great day and a better evening. Much love to you and the family. We'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely, Kenny, you look phenomenal. Johnny, you look great as always. I love the East Coast glow on you. Let's go, kid. Let's go.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, bro. I'll see
Enjoy
you, boys.
the fights, and we hope everybody will be locked in on ABC as the UFC goes live for the first time from Baku, Azerbaijan. Thanks to all of our guests today: Malki Kawa, Jason Anik, Ray Longo, Malcolm Wellmaker, Keith Florian, Brian Petrie. Our producer is Cody Merrow. Star of the show is Kenny Florian. That distinction used to go to Ray. The baton has been passed. Thanks to everybody watching live on the DraftKings YouTube channel and for following the show at Anik Florian Pod. We are back next Monday, and it's a big one, UFC 317 fight week. And we can't wait. With that, for Ken Flom, Jon Anik, thanks for watching, listening. Tell your friends, tell your mom. We'll talk to you next Monday. Until then, yo later.
I love this shit.